There you go. All right, I had to delete storage space on the StreamYard real quick. A little peek behind the curtain. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your patience. We are a whole minute late, EJ, in true bootleg fashion.
I was going to say, in typical bootleg fashion, welcome to Draftsmas. We are here. This is the breaking of the seal for draft season. And for the hardcore bootleggers who have followed us since the first year, welcome to your fourth Draftsmas. We didn't do one the first year because we didn't know we were doing every pick for the entire NFL draft. We did that the first year, and then we went, man, wouldn't it be cool if we did something on Wednesday to let people blow off steam? And Draftsmas was born, and so this is the fourth one. If you've been here for all four, congratulations. We appreciate
it. Chat is wondering, by the way, this is a Deshaun Kaiser jersey, vintage Deshaun Kaiser jersey that my lovely mods decided to send me. I'm sure out of affection and not spite.
You're sure about that, are you?
It's a wonderful reminder that this time of year, no matter how right you think you are, putting Deshaun Kaiser as QB1 over Patrick Mahomes, you're probably wrong. We're all probably wrong.
About a lot of things.
Best case scenario, hit rate in the first round is like 40-50%. So we are prepared to be more wrong than we are right. And we are prepared to hold over the very few things we get right over everybody's heads 10 years from now.
Forever.
And we're going to forget the misses because cognitive dissonance is a wonderful thing.
And we're basically like cornerbacks.
Yep. Move on to the next play.
High competitive drive, shortest memory in the game.
Gave up 180 yards, 2 touchdowns. Doesn't matter.
Made that one play.
Go right back.
Made a putt on 16. I'm coming out
tomorrow. No. He dropped the ball. That's when we got to flash the boom, give him the seatbelt, all of it. Anyway, do a little Q&A here today. Get everybody ready for the draft. First one from Kel for $5. For Brett, the wife and I are heading to Ireland this August. Are there any distillery tours outside of Dublin you recommend? I think the only distillery tour in Dublin is Teeling, if I recall correctly. I didn't do that one. But we did do the Middleton distillery tour down probably 15 minutes outside of Cork, which was amazing. That's the best distillery tour I've ever been on in my life. It's awesome. Make sure you do. There's like 2 tiers of tastings you could do. Do the better one because you get the good stuff on that tasting. I also did Bushmills up in Northern Ireland. Great tour as well. I thought Middleton was a little bit more robust, but it's also like one of the largest distilleries on the planet. So I'm not surprised by that because they do, I don't know, every Irish whiskey in the Republic down in Middleton, I would say.
Yeah.
But it's a great tour.
No, Ireland is a fantastic country. It's obviously gorgeous, and you've seen all those shots on TV. Familiar with the whiskey scene already, but it's really the people for me. The times that I've been there, and people that you would meet in unexpected places who are just incredibly nice to you for no reason whatsoever, just because you happen to be there. And it really makes the trip come together.
Also, Irish people can cook the shit out of a fish. They know what they're doing.
Good
also,
old Island
scallops
Nation
too. Like amazing scallops there.
Yeah, good old Island Nation.
Yeah, it's not just fried fish. They can do fish all sorts of ways. I know fish and chips is like the main thing they eat there, but they do know how to do it every other way. All right, next question. Donovan V for $20. Thank you, Donovan. Appreciate you. Over the past 4 seasons, none of the wide receivers taken in round 2 has worked out. So I guess 2019 was the Debo, AJ Brown year, right? So I don't even know who got taken 2020 to 2023, but if he's saying none in round 2 has worked out, do you think this year will be different? And if so, who do you think that player is?
Ooh, it's a great question.
I would say it depends on how many go in round 1, because that determines who the round 2 receivers are going to be.
Correct.
You know, if we get 7 receivers in the first round, which I don't think is likely, but it is possible, that really thins it out for who the Panthers could potentially be taking at 33, if we're assuming the Panthers are going to take one at 33.
We're just assuming.
Because if, let's say 7 go in the first round, it's Marvin, Rome, Malik, A.D. Mitchell. For the people that like A.D. Mitchell in the first round, I am one of them.
Brian Thomas Jr.,
Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette. Outside of that top 7, if those are your top 7, we're looking at Lad McConkey, Ricky Pearsall, Javon Baker, Malachi Corley, Malik Washington is my next 5.
Yeah.
If Malik goes in the second round, probably going to work out. If Malachi goes in the second round, depends on where he goes, but he could work out.
I think with Malachi's the guy I'm thinking of in terms of he's, to me, one of the more known receivers in this draft. Like, if you're taking Malachi Corley, you're not like, hey, I'm going to convert him to an X. Like, I'm going to make him my number 1. You're just not doing that, right? You know what he's good at. You know what he's for. You're drafting him for that, and you're saying, come do that for us. Just keep doing what you're doing. So that, to me, gives any receiver a leg up, as opposed to like, hey, you did this in college, but we're going to kind of morph you because of who we have in our room or how our offense goes or whatever else. Malachi Corley feels like a plug and play, short to medium receptions, yak for days, play like a running back with ball in your hands. Like, everybody knows what he is. I don't think anybody's trying to convert him to anything. They're drafting him for that. They're going to play him that way. And I'm not going to say he's bust proof, but it would be harder for me to imagine him busting than a lot of those other guys.
Yeah, he has a skill set that we think translates, right? Chat, by the way, brought up Higgins, Pittman, Pickens. Those are all second-round receivers in recent years. I couldn't even remember who went in the second round. I couldn't tell you.
Like Pittman, it's hard to say he hasn't hit.
No, Pittman's definitely hit.
Yeah.
Higgins has hit.
For sure.
Pickens, we'll see.
We feel like
we think he could.
He's shown significant flashes, but quarterbacking is a major factor, and I'm not going to say that's going to be a lot better this year.
I think, was Jaden Reed a second-round pick last year? I think he was.
Yeah, he was not a first-round pick.
I mean, so far, that's looking like it's probably going to be a hit. So, yeah, there's been some second-round receivers that have done well.
I think it depends on your definition of hit. And you and I were talking about this earlier today, that people just have this fascination with like 1,000 yards. And if a guy doesn't make 1,000 yards, no matter what his role is, he's not a hit. And I'm like, there's not that many 1,000-yard receivers in the NFL. Like, if a guy has 500 or 600 yards, he's, often a hit. And people just don't see it that way because he didn't ascend to the heights, right?
Thank you once again, Donovan, for your question. Really appreciate you and the support. Daniel Trump, interesting last name there, for $10. Can you get the Bears Murphy or Verse? Thank you. Well, EJ was just telling me today that there's a lot of credible smoke that Byron Murphy is in play at 9 to the Bears. Full disclosure, if it was EJ and me picking, we probably would go with Johnny Newton there, but doesn't mean that Byron Murphy's not a spectacular player in his own right.
Yeah,
I could see it. It kind of feels like they've been trying to find that upfield 3 technique for like
3 years.
3 years now, and I wasn't a huge fan of the Pickens pick last year anyway, so I'm not saying I'm ready to move on, but I'm kind of ready to move on. Byron's just a better prospect at that same position. It makes sense.
I'm not ready to move on. I actually saw a really interesting interview with Pickens a couple of weeks ago. The Irish Bears Network had Zach on, and really interesting. I got a better feel for him. And again, to me, at this point, it's a sunk cost, right? If he comes on and he's something, cool. Even if it's as the 3rd or 4th rotational DT, great. I don't care. That's great. But having Pickens, even if he does hit that role, is not a reason for me not to have a Murphy or a Newton, not to draft a Murphy or a Newton. Different level of talent. Murphy, I think, is a very good fit for the Bears. However, if my ideal world, if they're taking him, I want them to trade down a little bit and get him because I think they still can.
The question is, who's going to go up to 9 and for what? It would probably be for a tackle.
Always takes 2 to tango. You never know. It's going to be wild tomorrow night. But again, in my idealized world, they take Murphy, but they take him at wherever they trade down to.
Hop Hayes for $5. Great name. Let's talk about Irsay trading everything for Marvin Harrison Jr., Lusan Al-Gaib. God, to go from 15 to 5, that would be expensive.
Can I offer you an alternate theory?
The
Colts go after Neighbors about 5 picks later.
It would be, it would be like amazingly cheaper, but it would be slightly cheaper.
It would be a lot cheaper, and you're still getting a very impactful wide receiver. That to me seems more likely. Colts going all the way up to get MHJ. It feels like a bridge too far. It feels like just a little too rich. That's a lot.
I mean, Harbaugh will do anything to not draft an Ohio State player, so maybe. But it would cost 2 firsts and a second as the starting point.
Yeah, it'd be ridiculously expensive. Whereas if you wait 5 or 6 picks and Neighbors is still on the board, you're getting an explosive wide receiver. Yes, you can't necessarily play him in the same alignment as often, but you're still getting a weapon. You already have a guy that you can play in X. They paid Pittman. Right now you have, can you imagine like that lineup, Pittman, Neighbors, and Pierce?
Yeah. And Downs?
Like, good luck.
Downs?
Yeah, who are you going to
as
cover?
Your slot?
Yeah.
And Pierce is like your 4th guy. Just
go drag safeties off.
Run go routes and tire people out, and then you roll in Marvin. Like, I would be, as a Texans fan, I'd be terrified of that. So I hope it doesn't happen. Just vibing for $10. I watched your mock draft this morning for the Vikings. Count your days.
Yeah.
Look.
I love it.
I'm not saying it's what's going to happen for the Vikings. I'm just saying, given the circumstances, those were the picks I would have made. And I even admitted, like, that's early for me for Michael Penix. But what else are they going to do? Like, they already made the trade. Like, they got to take one in the first round, and if the value isn't there, sorry. Like, they kind of just got to do it.
The only thing that I don't love about Minnesota's position in this whole gig is the entire world knows they need a quarterback. There is no like, oh, we don't need a quarterback. Everybody's like, yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Like, everybody knows it, and that's not a great position to be negotiating from, because anybody you're trying to especially move up with is like, it's for quarterback, there's a tax. Yeah. So
Sean Payton's like trying to play it coy too, of like, oh no, we're fine. We traded for Zach Wilson. This is like, Sean.
Stop.
Come on, dude.
Like, we trust in your powers, but they're not that strong.
We know Bo Nix is already written on the card. Stop. But tomorrow night I do expect Bo Nix to be a Bronco. I'd be stunned if he's not.
It is one of, I don't want to say chalky, because nothing's chalky that far down.
Kind of.
The alignment is strong with that, with that potential pick, because of who Nix is, what his skills are, how he's sort of been forged through his quarterback journey. Like,
NCLHC, I'm going to assume North Carolina Seahawks fan, maybe? I'm gonna go with that for $5. Thank you very much. God, I have missed your guys' live streams. What's your guys' ideal pick for the Seahawks? See, there we go. For the Seahawks at pick 16. Keep up the great work, guys. So ideal pick? It's not gonna happen because he's gonna be gone. Troy Fautanu. That's like ideal pick. That is the dream pick for Seattle.
Sure.
I just don't think it's gonna happen.
I mean, it's possible. Seattle is such a tough spot. Seattle, to me, feels like the first spot in the draft where like anything is possible. Like, you can go literally any direction. You could even take one of the top corners just because, not because they need him, but because it would be reinforcing a strength and John just kind of flexing and going, yeah, try and throw on us now. I dare you. You can go offensive line. I would not be surprised if they picked Penix with the Grubb connection. Not to start right away, but I would not be surprised. Schneider's a guy that has not been beholden to other people's boards. In fact, I saw a graph the other day of teams that have deviated the most from consensus in terms of picks over the last like 5 to 7 years. Like, Seahawks are number 3.
Yeah.
Like, they're ready to go outside the box. So by the time you get to that point in the draft, with all the craziness that will occur before you get there, and then it's like Seahawks, and you're like, people are like, what are they going to do? I get that a lot at home. What are the Seahawks going to do? And I'm like, no idea.
Well, I've heard some very credible shit about a couple guys that they're in on, and I'm telling you what, guys, day 2 Seattle, we're gonna get wild.
We're gonna get
it's
wild.
Gonna get fun.
Yeah,
I don't know if Seahawks fans are gonna love it, but it's gonna get fun for us. Assuming all that's true,
or any
I
of
think
it's
it
true.
is. I think it is.
That's the thing about all these draft rumors is some of it's true. Like, some of these will be true, and some of them will be like, nope, that was such smoke. So,
and that's why we don't post them, because we don't want to show our ass in
it's
public.
just a lot.
Yeah.
Like, we hear a lot at this time of year. Like all day, I've been getting stuff in DMs and texts and whatever about, oh, this might happen, or here's a potential, or oh, credible source, and you're like, all right, we'll see.
We'll see. Echo Warrior for $20. Thank you, Echo. Once again, long time
Welcome back.
Subscriber, viewer, supporter. Appreciate you once again. I've now seen 2 draft guides, one of them being The Beast by Dan Brugler, that have Keaton Slovis as a top 10 quarterback. Ooh, let me see where I got him. Caleb's 1, Mays 2, Jaden 3, JJ 4, Bo 5, Penix 6, Jordan Travis 7, Michael Pratt 8, Devin Leary 9, Spencer Rattler 10, which that in itself, I know people are going to disagree with that. Austin Reed 11, Sam Hartman 12, Joe Milton 13, then Keaton Slovis. So
yeah, I think by the time you get to even 10 in this draft, certainly 11,
it's all
we're not really talking about
3.
anything anymore. We're talking about like if you pull some value out of that, even if it's 5 or 6 year clipboard holder, great work. Like at that point, I'm not going to say it's ceased to matter. I don't want to disrespect those players who work hard and have potential to improve, but like we're not talking about dropping dollars at that point. We're talking about dropping quarters.
Yeah.
So
we're talking about day 3 quarterbacks. It's not like a
good
huge split.
Yeah. Good luck.
But yeah, let me put it this way. Keaton Slovis almost hit both of us individually 2 separate times with a football, beating us nearly in the head. And we were 12 feet from his receiver. So personal bias, I
can't think of a more, I can think of a few equal, but I can't think of any more roller coastery like college quarterback journeys than Keaton Slovis.
You never know what you're going to get from throw to throw.
Well, right, but so many schools, so many different offenses, times where he looked amazing and people said he's one of the crop of the next big things, to he's completely written off, to he's back in college again. He's playing for somebody else.
Yeah.
It's just such a roller coaster with him.
Let's see. Where's the next one? Here we go. Scrubber Ducky 500. What a name for $5. Thank you very much. As a disgruntled Jags fan from yesterday's mock,
of which there are many.
There are many. In the shortest amount of time possible to explain, how do they get A.D. Mitchell over Brian Thomas Jr. or CB1? So again, this is just because I have monster grades on A.D. Mitchell.
Sure.
Not everybody's going to agree with that. Some people have him wide receiver 3. Some people have him wide receiver 10. Like, I feel like A.D. Mitchell is one of those players. Like, people talk about being split on Keon Coleman. No, people are split on A.D. Mitchell.
Yeah.
Because nobody other than maybe Emory has Keon as a top 3 receiver, or even a top 4 receiver. A lot of people have A.D. as a top 4 receiver. A lot of people don't have A.D. as a first-round pick. And I feel like there is no middle ground with him amongst draft enjoyers, I guess you could say. You either love him or you don't. And I happen to be one of the people that loves him. I understand like the whole effort comments. We've seen a lot of receivers come through college football where, they play in offenses where it's you're looking to one side of the field. Here's 1, here's 2. If not, you're throwing it away or running. And the other side of the field gets completely ignored, and the receivers know that. And so why are they going to expend a bunch of energy running routes that have absolutely no prayer being thrown? And that was Texas, honestly. And, was AD a little bit too honest?
Too much?
Yeah, he's too honest about I'm not getting the ball by his body language. Yes, absolutely. But like that was an offense where they were really only throwing it to one side or the other based on pre-snap looks. They were not really doing a bunch of full field stuff.
Yeah.
You know my thoughts on Quinn Ewers. He may or may not finish the season as Texas starting quarterback this year. If you saw Arch Manning play in the spring game, I'd bet the under on that one.
Yeah.
But like the receivers knew, like based on pre-snap looks, either I'm getting the ball or I'm not. And AD ran his routes accordingly. When he knew that when he knew it was go time and he's like, I got to beat my guy, I'm the primary, he did it. He's a phenomenal route runner, obviously tons of tools, great ball skills. I guess I just care about the effort stuff less than other people because I've seen a bunch of college receivers do that, and I consider that to be normal at that level of football. Once he gets to the pros, I think we'll see more effort.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of those, low effort wide receivers, of which I don't necessarily think he's one, like carry that over to other facets of the game. And like he was a good run blocker.
Yeah.
Like he's a pretty dogged run blocker. He's got great physical skills, but that's not all. Like he tries hard in run blocking. And that's not typically you see from somebody that's just loafing it and just in it for the catches, right? The sort of glory wide receiver. AD, it's not that for me. I love the traits. And yeah, when he turns it on, it looks amazing. There's a thing I can't get past about efficiency overall and consistency in his game. And part of that was Ewers for sure. I saw Ewers live this year. Saw him live last year. There's some of that. You can talk about the offense, but there's just a thing. It's like, man, AD Mitchell should be in every way so good. He's tall, he's fast, lean, has great body control around the side. Like he just has everything that you want out of a number one alpha X wide receiver. And it doesn't necessarily show up that way. It does in spurts, but that's
not every
right. And that doesn't, not even with effort, but even on the plays where he's, in play. And I can't get over that. I don't know why it is. I don't think it's effort. But it's there. Like there's inconsistency in his tape, and it just makes me hesitate on him more than some other guys in this class. Again, if he gets to a place where he puts it all together, like God forbid he goes to Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh can't seem to miss on wide receivers, right? And if he goes to Pittsburgh, I have no doubt he's going to be amazing. But
he goes to Baltimore, if he goes to Kansas City, well, he's not going to Baltimore because I don't know if you saw they extended Rashad Bateman, but like
I didn't. Wow,
yeah, through 2020, I think it's like either 1 or 2 year
heck of a thing to drop on me in the middle of a live stream.
Yeah, no, it like just happened.
I'm just kidding,
but I think it's like a 2 year.
So for the Jags, AD Mitchell, like I'm not kicking and clawing for him. And again, if one of the top corners is there and nobody's been picked at corner by the time the Jags come around, I'm hard pressed not to take insert favorite corner here.
Which is, at least for us, both of us, is going to be Quinyon.
Yeah, but I mean, if they took Quinyon or Terrion, like I'm like, cool, you win. Like keep moving. Like good job. Let's see what you do the next pick. So for me, I think that's just better value for where they're at. And again, there's a lot more receivers down the board. This is a very deep wide receiver class. I wrote up like 20 of them in this class. And I watched over 35 of them. And that's, I was still finding guys in the late 20s going, I don't know, I think this guy could contribute like soon.
And I mean, at some point on receiver, I just stopped watching guys because like I can't do 50.
No.
Like I got to, it was like 30 in the high 30s, and I was like, I just can't do anymore. Like I got to do other positions.
I was like mid 30s, and I was like, look, a lot of these guys are really good.
Yeah. Here we go. Hendog 1000. Thank you, Hendog. Again, another longtime viewer supporter. Hi, Bootleg. It's your friendly neighborhood Chiefs fan, currently in the process of returning from a broken back.
Ooh.
At the end of Oh my God, dude. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. Having done that, I'm really sorry.
EJ has experience with broken backs. Mountain biking, I think, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
T5 and T7.
Not a fun time. What's the likelihood that Marvin goes before pick 4? Cough, cough, Pats. Ooh. The likelihood? I wouldn't say it's likely.
It's possible.
But there's still a slit, like a 10% sliver chance.
I wouldn't write it off as like I'm taking that bet and I'm betting my mortgage because I'm sure it's not going to happen, because then again, Elliot Wolf would be like, well, blue chip.
Exactly.
Again, I think the likelihood is low, 10, maybe 15% that happens. And it's much more likely that I would say he goes at 4 or at the latest, probably 5.
Yeah, 5 is, I think, the floor.
Yeah, I think very likely 4. So my odds for that would be like, I don't know, 75 or 80%. And then 5, it would be low again to just finish up whatever was left on the odds, because I really probably think he's gone at 4.
Now, as for whether it's the smart decision to take him at 3 and build the team before you take a quarterback, That's obviously a big debate. Should you build the structure before you take the guy, or should you take the guy because you don't think you're going to have a chance to take the guy later, and then you figure out the structure as you go? Some teams have had success.
We're going to stack good players
Yeah,
because we need a lot of them, and we're just going to start with one. We know this guy's good.
Yeah.
He's available to us. We don't have to hem and haw about a trade, or again, with the quarterback, it feels more dependent to me. Like, we just don't have enough guys to support this guy. Like, receiver's going to go out there and might not have the production, but he's still going to scare people. He's still going to be somebody you can pin your offense on 3rd and 6 and be like, hey, we're throwing it to Marvin. We have a pretty high likelihood we're getting out of this with the first down.
Jack Hunter for £5. Thank you, Jack.
Well,
appreciate you. Awake at the wee hours of, God, what is it? 2:30 there, right? 1:30, 2:30. Good morning, both. Here's to another year. Chargers picks have been talked to death, but how would you rank targets by how solid the fits would be? So when you say targets, I think he's talking receiver and tight end.
No,
right?
I think he means draft targets.
Like okay, that probably makes more sense.
Players targeted in the draft for fit. So tell us if we're wrong, Jack. But I've got one that I think is dead, like lead pipe lock for fit, but it doesn't. The value doesn't jive with 5.
Who?
Latham.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
that would be a trade down.
It would be a trade, but in terms of like player and fit for, again, mentality, what they're trying to build, what they need on their roster, like skills, and like, Latham is like lead pipe lock to the Chargers. It would be later down. Ideally, I don't want them to do it at 5 just before the comments erupt. But in terms of like a player where I'm just like, dude, if they come away with that guy in the first round and some extra picks, like, again, win, check it off, move to the next round, pass go, collect $200.
He would be, let's say the Colts give you the Godfather offer for Marvin at 5.
Oh,
and you go to 15. Latham is like perfect.
Right down the middle of the fairway.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And it's such a Harbaugh pick too. It's a great Roman pick. I would say for fits for the Chargers, obviously Marvin and Rome fit at the top. Let me talk about a down the board fit for them. And I'm gonna stay away from the Michigan bait because I could very easily say like Junior Colson, Cornelius, any of those guys. Non-Michigan down the board fit for the Chargers. Jaheim Bell, tight end / H-back out of Florida State.
Oh man,
unbelievable yak weapon. 8.1 yards after the catch per reception, which is an element that they need in that tight end room. They need somebody who can be. Who's the Baltimore TE2 that we absolutely love, that you loved coming out? Isaiah Likely. They need like their Isaiah Likely, right? Because they don't have that right now.
Yeah, it's funny. I think of those two guys as very different. I love Bell, by the way, so this is just Bell bait.
I'm just talking like move tight end that could do something with the ball in space. I think Likely is, again, he's a little bit different, but I would say in terms of the role of like when we're living in 12 personnel, who's our other guy who can do multiple things? Because I think Bell's a better blocker than people give him credit for.
He's on the move.
Way better.
He's one of those guys that, again, people go, oh, he's a tight end and he can't move people off the line as an inline blocker. I'm like, no, he can't. But that guy on a sweep, if fullback,
if you do all the other stuff,
and pin a linebacker inside, like go.
There was a rep that Benson had where they pulled Bell and he led up on the second level and sprung it. And I'm like, well, there's the thing. That's what Greg Roman does.
My secret crush is Bell to the Bears late because of Waldron, right? So he's got 2 tight ends, and people say, oh, well, he's already got his move, right? His move tight end followed him to Chicago. But I'm like, yeah, but put Bell behind him and do all the other stuff, all the H-backy, fullbacky stuff with him, and just confuse and surprise people, because he literally can show up anywhere sort of in between the numbers on the formation and do something cool. Like, it's one of the most fun fits out there to just think about.
Jay for $5. Thank you, Jay. Literally single letter J. Great quote. Pat Mahomes might throw the ball 80 yards and I can only throw the ball 72, but I guarantee he can't throw an out route the way I can. Who said that?
Wasn't me.
I want to know what suicidal quarterback prospect said that.
Well, probably the same one that said he could beat Caitlin Clark one-on-one.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah.
That was my favorite tweet of the day. About
Well, I think I
Cooper
can. It's like guys saying, I think I could beat a like silverback gorilla one-on-one. You're like, he's gonna rip your arms off and beat you with them. Like, no.
Chad, if you know, I want to know who said that quote. And I have a sneaking suspicion it might be the band's jersey I'm wearing right now. But good Lord, that's an all-timer.
That is an all-timer. Thank you, Jay, for giving us a little bit of levity. That's what Draftsmas Eve is for, is talk about fun, cool, weird stuff about the draft. Just kind of get it out of your system because everybody's pent, including us. Like, we are building to that point. That energy is, I know we're going to wake up tomorrow and we think, oh, we're going to do this, that, and the other thing.
It was Kaiser.
Yeah. And we think, oh, we're going to be so productive. We're going to do this. We're going to wake up. Our phones are going to be blown up. The rumor mill is going to be in high gear. And we're just going to be on from the time we eat breakfast till like midnight.
Yeah, we still got prospect write-ups to finish tonight. So. I'm gonna tee this one up for you, EJ. While I go grab my laptop charger because I totally forgot to grab that.
Fair enough.
This is from Z for $2.
Yes.
Is Caleb finally our guy? Will we have a real QB?
Yes and yes. See, you didn't get the plug.
Doing it anyway.
It's okay. Go get the plug. I believe so. Caleb has everything that he needs to be a successful NFL quarterback, and that's physical, mental, the approach, the willingness to dig in, get better, be the sort of first in, last out type of guy. All that stuff is present with him already. It's not anything that he has to develop. He's got a laser gun for an arm. I think it's a very easy and safe statement to say, as soon as Caleb Williams enters the league, he's got a top 5 arm. And I don't think that's a stretch really at all. He's got an unreal arm. Great mobility, underrated runner. I would say 3rd best runner in this class among the quarterbacks. Jaden is obviously 1, and I think Drake May is 2. Drake May is, again, underrated as a runner. But Caleb is extremely slippery. We were just watching some DE highlights today, and like one of the games was against Caleb, which I've watched, I don't know, 15, 20 times at this point. And it was still like still giggling at stuff he's doing to defensive players who did everything right and should have made the play, but just Caleb being Caleb. So I think, yes, it's very possible. I think he comes into a better situation than any previous quarterback in Chicago. And I mean, any previous quarterback in Chicago,
like in franchise history,
in modern Bears history, for sure. Literally the path is laid out. If he doesn't succeed, that's up to the football gods. That's injury. That's something unexpected. It's not because he doesn't have a tool or doesn't have the approach he needs to be exactly what we all hope he'll be in Chicago.
Doc for life for $10. Rams fan here, still suffering from the depression of AD retiring. Y'all got any really obscure prospects that you think will be solid? Kind of like the punter out of Wingate, the GOAT Ethan Evans.
Don't scout punters, just me.
So Ethan Evans, to me, is probably punter 3 in this class, behind Torrey Taylor and Ryan Rakow for BYU, who's my first punter. So if you want a punter,
I'm 3rd punter. What are we doing here?
I'm a degenerate. I have to do punter rankings.
I know. Katzen is death staring me through the camera right now. He's like, what do you mean you don't scout punters?
This is the podcast that told you all about the gospel of Stonehouse.
And I like Stonehouse, but I'm still not going to cop. Like,
as far as I'm concerned, if you see a punter who can literally curve the ball like 12 yards this way and then have it land 6 yards that way, punter 1. Punter 1. Sure. He's awesome. Ryan Rakow, BYU.
And I appreciate punters. This is not anti-punter propaganda. I'm busy. I don't scout punters. Like, that's all there is to it.
If we're just talking about really obscure prospects,
sure.
Jalen Coker, Holy Cross, I would say is kind of up the Rams alley of just small school kid, crazy athlete. We'll let McVay figure it out. I would say
kind of feel like the wide receiver from Cortland State is like a Les Snead pick.
Do you think Eric All counts as that because of the injury stuff? So he's kind of.
I think he might be a little too rich for their blood, and they like it a little bit different. The other one, Slippery Rock. the wide receiver from Slippery Rock,
whose name escapes me. He was like
Right.
6'4", 220.
Exactly,
runs
which is
4.45.
and again, they have precedent for picking tall wide receivers and kind of playing them in that hybrid wide receiver tight end role. Like that guy I could see as a like right down the middle fit for the Rams. There's always some linemen they like, both offensive and defensive, that you're just like, where'd they pull that? Usually comes in 4th round, 5th round.
I could see Solomon Byrd from USC, keeping him in town to add to their edge rotation because they're going to need another one.
I would love to see him next to Kobe. Like great complementary skill sets there.
Juwan Briggs.
Oh, dude, 2 guys that can sing on the defensive line. Is that legal?
Very much a Rams type pick, by the way.
Yeah. For sure.
Super underrated, whip smart, athletic.
Good penetrator.
Nobody's talking about him.
Yeah,
he's a
way
Rams
on the
kind
board.
of defense.
I can see that for sure.
Let's see. Mr. Clean, 465. Thank you, Mr. Clean. What are the realistic Texans picks in the second round at 42 and 59? Ooh, that's a good one.
I think they should forfeit him and give him to Chicago.
Fuck you.
Okay. It's fair.
You tried.
I just don't have any there. I'm greedy. I just want picks there.
Chicago has, 4 picks the entire draft?
They do. They have 1, 9, 75, and 122.
So they don't need receiver because they got one of, if not the best receiving core in the league, top to bottom, with Diggs, Nico Collins, Tank Dell. And then Noah Brown is your 4. A lot of teams would kill to have Noah Brown as your 4. Offensive line on paper, really good. Tight ends all shored up with Dalton Schultz. Obviously got CJ. Running backs fine. Bringing in Mixon to go with Dameon Pierce, and kicker / running back Dario Mbwale. Let's see, edge rusher.
They could use another one.
Yeah, I mean they got Daniil and Will, which is great, but I'm talking like depth, like their third guy. Mm-hmm. That's where you're kind of looking for your third edge, which in this class would be Chop. Might be there
at their first pick
at 42. Sure. Maybe
it's possible. I doubt it. But a decent might be, and that would be super fun.
Ooh, what do you think about this one? Because he's different than the ones they have.
Sure.
Darius Robinson at 42.
Let me look at their depth chart really quick.
So you got Will, and then you got Daniil Hunter. Yeah. Darius is more like Daniil, but I think Darius can also on pass downs kick inside.
Yeah, he can play your sort of lanky 3. Yeah, he can kind of replace Danico Autry on your NASCAR big nickel downs. And I'm looking behind. They got Derek Barnett and then Dylan Horton.
I don't know if I want to replace Danico. I'd probably replace Fatukasi.
Right, but yeah. Danico slides over to be the quote unquote nose. Yeah, I like it. It gives them another type. It gives them a solid backup on really what would be the. It's funny that they have Derek Barnett listed behind Daniil and Dylan Horton listed behind Will.
I know. I would have flipped it.
Right. I almost feel like that should be flipped. But it does give them another type. Very talented player, very long player. Kind of plays fast. He's not foot speed fast, but plays fast because of length and strength. Gets himself in the right places. Yeah, I like him. He'd be another facet to that room.
I would also look at outside corner there for them, which
you're going to have a ton of choices.
I don't think Kool-Aid will make it, but that's probably that's probably like prime Renardo Green territory.
That's high for Renardo Green, but I mean, you could take
maybe Kyrie Jackson.
Right? You could take TJ Tampa if they like him. There are a lot of
Kamari Lassiter.
Kamari Lassiter would be a very underrated pick for them, and I think he reminds me, quite frankly, of a few San Francisco corners that played in D'Amico's.
Yeah, I
can see D'Amico looking at Kamari Lassiter and going, he's just like, and plugging him in a similar role. Again, he's kind of a different flavor than Stingley, but also very effective.
Is that Kentucky kid? Andrew Phillips. Is it too high for him?
Not for me. It's way too high for him. Because
where do you have him?
I think Tyke Smith is what people think Andrew Phillips is. So, hey, if they want to take Tyke Smith, but they already have Beecher, so they don't need him.
people are all over Andrew Phillips in terms of their valuations of him. Some have him as a first round pick. Some have him day 3.
Really high on him, and plays with a ton of effort. Like, he is an energy guy. Yeah. He's that loud dude that is, big hits, lets everybody know about it, high energy, but he's not as consistent as I want in that role, because it's a really difficult role, especially for rookies. Like, you got to tackle well, you got to be in the run fit, which he can do, but you also have to take a two-way go, and that's where I get real suspect about Phillips.
So you're looking at him exclusively as a nickel?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Some people see him as like a Jair type outside corner, which a little rich for me, but
I do not with his pass coverage. Again, and the thing he's really good at is going forward and blowing people up in the run. And that rings true. It's kind of much like Petrie, but they already have that guy, and I think Petrie is better. And Phillips scares me in pass. I'm not putting him on the outside.
Interesting. Yeah. Everybody's all over on him.
Yeah.
Cure for $5. Thank you, Cure. Appreciate you. And appreciate you. I think you were the one that sent me this jersey, so I appreciate you.
Yeah. You appreciate that.
Kamani Vidal at 3. Patriots fans are tortured enough. I don't think you want to keep ruining their lives even more. Although I do love Vidal. Like, I have him as top 5 running back in this class, or top 6. Well, he's like tied at 5th, so top 5 to 6 running back in this class. Still could be a Patriot, just not at 3rd.
Not at 3, but no, love Vidal. One of my favorite runners in this class. I think I have him a little bit lower than you do, but again, love the skill set. The running back class is a little bit like the tight end class, or even a little bit like the inside linebacker class. There's just a wide variety of skills, and because of that, a wide variety of valuations, depending on what you like and what that player has or doesn't. And so they either go way up or way down your board. And so I think folks that like pure running back play really like Vidal, and I'll raise my hand for that. Folks that like, if you're a huge like Will Shipley fan, like, Vidal's not as high on your board.
Yeah.
You like a different style.
Hey, there are some Will Shipley fans.
I'm not saying there aren't. I'm just saying
they do exist.
If you love that style, like, Vidal's probably lower on your board.
Yeah.
And if you love running backs who just are really, really skilled runners, you love Vidal because he is that.
Echo Warrior for 50. Echo, you're too kind. I appreciate you once again, bud. You single-handedly keeping the lights on over here.
You're spoiling us.
There's a part of Colts Twitter that feels that if a big 3 edge falls to 15, you take them and go wide receiver in round 2, because a rookie corner won't help a young secondary as much as taking pressure off of Buckner in the pass rush. Love the content as always, guys. So that's a really interesting philosophical discussion, because they already have a bunch of young guys in the secondary. As it is
coverage or pass rush. Classic.
Coverage or pass rush. Is it easier for young guys to develop if it's 2.5 seconds ball out, right? The answer is yes, by the way.
Sure.
So from that standpoint, okay, Latu with Buckner, super fun. Verse with Buckner, super fun.
Verse seems to fit their profile a little bit more.
He is more Colts-ish.
Colts-ish.
I mean, honestly, Dallas Turner is the most Colts, because he's a freak athlete, and they love freak athletes. They'd probably have to trade up for him. But I would understand that philosophically, because if we want to make the corners and the DBs in general that we've already drafted work, that's probably one of the best ways to help make them work, is to not make them cover for 3.5 seconds.
Yeah. And they don't also typically, as an organization under Ballard, they don't invest up high in corner.
Yeah. They tried the day 2. I don't want to say lotto ticket. It's not like a lotto ticket.
No, they take
2,
role players that fit their system, and they believe that, again, they're getting value there. And teams in the NFL all do this, right? You only have so many dollars to spend on either side of the ball. And so you prioritize one or the other. And we see teams that prioritize the secondary, invest high picks in it, pay folks back there, and they take like average middle linebackers to get away from it, and maybe average D tackles, and then they do edge. They do edge and corner. Like, you have to move those dollars around, and the Colts have predominantly focused on the D line.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, they paid Buckner
with
they
both
paid
picks
Grover.
and pay. They have not taken the big dollar, high profile outside corner. That is just not philosophically what they do. So it'd be cool to see them do that, to add that, because like the players that are going to be on the board and the pick we're talking about are better than the players they have.
Yeah.
So it would be an upgrade, but you get back to this, like, are your coverage players that you're not paying as much better with pass rush? Well, sure. And that just sort of feeds into, see, we're right. We're putting our dollars in the right place.
Because it's one of those, even as good as Quinion is, can Quinion cover for 4 seconds?
I think he can, but do you want to make him?
Do you want to make him, especially against this Houston receiving core?
Well, against a lot of people in the NFL. And, you need a little bit of both, but it's like sliders, and the Colts sliders definitely go towards the defensive line.
Yeah. So it makes sense from that standpoint. But ultimately, when we're talking about the Colts and what they're going to do high in the first round, number one priority for the organization is making Anthony Richardson work.
Yes.
So before they even get to the defense, I think they focus on what can we take here or trade up for here, cough, cough, Marvin, that will make AR work, because we invested a lot into him. We need this to work. We absolutely need this to work, because it's the first rookie quarterback they've drafted after several years in a row of just recycling through veteran retreads, right? So like, we need this shit to work.
Mm-hmm.
That means receiver, protection, or both. So I think they're going to focus on offense until Anthony Richardson's, stabilized, so to speak.
Agreed.
And then they go defense.
Can I sell you on a Malik Neighbors trade up for the Colts?
I mean, again, as a Texans fan, no.
He's like, no, I'm petrified of that. Don't do it.
But I do think it's in play.
Yeah, it's possible.
It's absolutely in play. Anyway, thank you once again, Echo. We had another 50 here.
I see that.
Serious Midnight.
I see that.
Thank you, Serious. Appreciate your support and everything you do for us. Merry Draftsmas. Merry Draftsmas to you. Been following Brett since the Pernell McPhee video, and EJ since Windy City Gridiron Draft Day Facebook streams.
Oh, boy. That's a bit.
This is an OG.
Yeah, that goes back.
Thanks for making me a smarter football fan and helping me fool my friends into thinking I'm a draft guru. Well, hopefully you didn't listen to me when I said Deshaun Kaiser's QB1
years, yeah. And I had a couple doozies in there too, so yeah, we'll skip those.
What is your worst draft pick?
Worst? I've had so many bad ones, especially as a young analyst when you're at the beginning of the Dunning-Kruger curve.
Oh, when you think you know everything?
I got it. These people are so dumb. This is easy.
Christian Hackenberg's a first-round pick. What the fuck are we doing here?
I've had many terrible ones, but I could just say Baylor wide receivers.
Oh, don't even get me started. Corey Coleman.
There's a couple, right?
And I was just so good.
Let's go. And then I was like, oh, maybe not. And I didn't give up easily on some of those either, which just made it worse because I was just doubling down and compounding. And no, he just needs his chance, man. And then I was like, dude, when you step outside yourself and go, dude, stop.
I had, I think like 4 in a row. It was Kendall Wright, Corey Coleman, Denzel Mims, Tyquan Thornton, like all 4 in a row. Like I was in on all these Baylor guys, and like literally none of them worked out.
I mean, right too. So you could say Kendall was decent too.
He had like a little, he had a little
run.
In the
middle,
yeah.
Both of us. Like Corey Coleman, I had way up high. Denzel Mims, I really liked. And again, those two I hung on to for a long time. The Tyquan Thornton thing, I think I was more realistic about what I expected him to be. I should say, because he's still in the league. Boy, those middle ones,
you know why? So again, we had a discussion yesterday about how like anybody from the Bryles system, whether it's Tennessee now or like Baylor back then.
I knew that.
Well, here's the reason why Wright, the Tennessee running back that's in that same system, why I'm scarred to the point where I cannot put him as one of my top running backs. And this is a name that will send shivers down the spine of everybody who's loved the NFL draft for the last 10 years. Lake Seastrunk. Everybody loved Lake Seastrunk.
He's fun tape.
You know why? Because he ran into a loaded box like 3 times.
Yeah, because he had the Red Sea.
He was at Baylor.
It was like Red Sea right and Red Sea left. And wow, he's actually fast enough to make it out there. Yeah, he was.
Didn't work out.
No.
Didn't work out. So that's why I'm like, Writes fast, but
I think it's more than that, but I understand the scarring. Trust me, we all have our scarring from things that didn't work. And if you're smart, you get more careful about those. You can't, again, stop throwing the ball, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you just go, should I sling this?
Is this fire still hot or can I touch it? Another 50 here, Nathan Woolley. Thank you very much, Nathan. Appreciate you for again keeping the lights on. Hey guys, not able to stay super long today. Wow, I know English good.
Hoogity boogity.
But I'll be here for day 2 and day 3 of the draft.
Nice.
Well, thank you for that. Speaking of which, are there any late round fits you're really pulling for? Personally, I think Audric Estime behind Tyler Smith would feed families. Ain't nobody gonna want to stop that.
No, I love that. It's funny when there are so many permutations for all this. I mean, any of these players can end up with any of these teams at this point. And, occasionally you just stumble upon a fit. Like somebody mentions it to you or you see it in a mock draft or whatever.
And you can't unsee it.
And you're just like, oh, I really like that. Like it just hits you in the middle and you're like, oh yeah, I can see it. I can feel it. I can imagine it. I love Estime behind Smith. There are so many. We were talking about wide receiver fits for Kansas City earlier. And again, Patrick Mahomes is going to make most anybody work of any style. So you can see lots of those. But I think it's more fun when there's somebody that fits a defined role, offense or defense, that really locks in. Like, again, I think Quinyon would be a really good fit at corner for the Colts. Not like organizational mindset wise, but like skill wise, that would be really good.
For late round fits,
yeah.
Specifically late round fits.
It's gonna Seattle people are gonna hate this, but Jack Westover in San Francisco.
Oh, that feels illegal somehow.
I'm sure it is,
and wrong.
At least 10 states.
Every UW fan's like, "Fuck you."
Yeah,
like,
they're like, no. Well, "Who are you? Where are you from?" But like in terms of an offense that they would find really good and useful things, and I say that because the Niners are the folks that draft the folks like that I like.
Yeah.
Like I was a big Charlie guy as a tight end, and like he's still playing. Like Charlie Warner is a very useful part of their offense, and like that's the role I saw for him, and that's the role they saw for him. Again, way down the board, it was like, why are you watching film with Charlie Warner? I was like, he's one of the best blocking tight ends in this draft. Like he's really good.
I'm trying to think. I mean, this wouldn't really be a late. It's probably a third to fourth. Cole Bishop with Spags.
Oh, speaking of illegal,
yeah,
that would be rough. He gets to keep wearing red.
He is such a Spags type.
He's
DB.
So good too.
Yeah,
like regardless of Spags or not, like Cole Bishop is one of our favorite players at safety. Oh, I gave you one earlier. As a type in terms of types that a team likes at a certain position, and it's Jaden Sheridan, the Monmouth running back to Philly.
Yeah. 100%.
Like that,
two touchdowns against the Giants. Book it. Absolutely book it.
That is a late round Howie gimme. I like him. Sheridan has explosive speed. Monmouth or not. I could just see that one. Like if that happened, I'd be like, oh yeah, Philly.
When you think about Jalen Ford to the Patriots, because they love just the big rough and tumble linebackers that can also, play a little bit of zone coverage. I could see that.
Yeah, I can see it in some other defenses. I can actually see that in Philly as well, because they've done that before with some Texas linebackers. I mean, I wouldn't hate it, and I would be really interested to see what Mayo had in store for him.
Because he's one of the only 240-pound actual Mike linebackers.
He's a stump
in this draft, and I'm not saying that's the biggest need for the Patriots, but it's one of the only teams that I trust actually knows how to use him.
And it's a down the board fit, so
yeah.
I really like the player.
We're talking about day 3 linebacker
here.
Yeah. Simeon Zamet for $5. Great name. Ready for QB? Speaking of Patriots, ready. Wow, Brett, sound it out
again.
Ready for QB at 3 to New England. If not, I'll be sad. Outside of QB. Is offensive tackle or wide receiver a bigger need for the New England offense. I would say offensive tackle just because if you're taking a quarterback early, again, we're just talking about after you take quarterback, right? Sure. What's more important, receiver or protection? What will break a young quarterback quickest is getting hit.
Getting smacked.
Over and over and over and over and over again. So fix the offensive line and then trust that your young stud quarterback prospect is good enough to make it work with the weapons you got. Doesn't mean that you can't invest again, in a third round receiver, which in this class, maybe you're getting like a Javon Baker in the third round, something like that. But like, you got to protect him because it doesn't matter how good a receiver you draft if your young quarterback, who we expect to have slower eyes than a veteran anyway, is getting creamed. So that's how I look at it.
Man, I'm not sure quarterback at 3 is the thing. I think it's possible. I won't be surprised if it happens, but I will also not be surprised if Elliott Wolf takes all the smoke he's been blowing for 2.5, 3 weeks now, takes a trade for that particular pick to someone who is maybe slightly further along in their build, which is everybody. And takes the picks because they just have so many holes that it not going to say negligent, that's too strong, but it feels kind of leaning in that direction to be like, okay, young signal caller, stand up and take bullets, like, because that's what's going to happen.
Matthew Urbanky for $5 Canadian. Hello from Canada to us. Do you think it makes sense for the Jags to trade up and get an elite X receiver or stick at 17 and pray a corner falls? It depends on who it is, because there's only 2 elite X receivers in this class to me. One, if you're EJ. We both agree that Rome is one of them. I think that Marvin can play X. Some people think Z to slot, but either way.
Well, I think Marvin is closer to X. I think Neighbors is the slot Z guy.
Yeah, if we're trading up for an X, it's not Malik Neighbors, right? So if you're sitting there at 17, that was half the reason why I put AD Mitchell to them at 17. I think 80's an X. But do you think Brian Thomas Jr. is an X?
He's a better Z for me. I think he's a more natural Z. I think he has enough skill and enough versatility and variety in his game that he's going to be, hopefully, like, his high-end ceiling is what T has become, right? He's a very good Z that people are like, he could play 1 if he had to. Like, I think that's the ceiling, and that's a good ceiling for Brian Thomas Jr. Again, more so the wording of the question about or pray that a corner falls. It's very possible that the first corner is going to be there.
And if it's not the first, the second one probably will be there, because I don't think 2 corners are going off by 16.
No, I would say they definitely are going to have a look at the second corner, whoever that is. And that's really good. And honestly, even if it was the third corner, probably still worth the pick at 17 versus how many wide receivers off the board at that point?
Could be anywhere between 4 and 6.
I think it's 4, right? Yeah. Whereas maybe 2 corners. I think they're possibly looking at the first corner, but they'll definitely, I think, be looking at the second corner. Second corner or the 5th wide receiver with their needs, I would take the second corner.
Yeah. To answer your question, though, as far as trading up for an X, I don't think they're going to get a chance to unless they're going all the way to 8 for Atlanta, because Rome's not getting past 9 anyway. So it's an expensive trade.
I honestly don't think he's going to get past 6.
I'd be surprised if he got past 6, but I know he's not getting past 9.
If he's there at 9, Poles runs the card in. He goes, I was going to do this, but hey, come on.
Marcy's or Marseille for $5. Who's your surprise first round pick?
Yeah, this is a fun question because it's always those last, like, I would say 5 to 6 picks at the end of the first round, because again, first round goes off tomorrow. It's the only round of the day. Everybody has to sit with themselves overnight and plan and go, who's on the board and what do we do? And should we have the 5th-year options in play for those last 5 or 6 picks? And it gets weird every year. Like, it's weird at the top, and then it kind of settles out in the middle, and maybe 1 or 2 trades in that middle, like, heavy third. And then you get to those last 5 or 6 picks, and it's like, okay, who's going to get antsy because they don't want to sit for 24 hours knowing they didn't get whatever, a quarterback, an X wide receiver, a corner, like all those teams that have needs that everybody else knows about are the teams that are like, and you just get this weird run of like extra defensive linemen, a center gets thrown in there, somebody goes after a middle linebacker, not this year probably. Second tight end goes off the board, and you're like, what? I did not see insert second tight end here as, a top 30 pick, but
can I give you a surprise first rounder that, if we're just talking about fit, is not a surprise?
Sure.
The Chiefs not taking receiver, like everybody think they would.
Yeah.
Right? Because they think that, okay, we made it work with Rasheed.
Yeah.
We can do it again on day 2.
Yeah.
Especially in this class, right? Oh, Fatty came to say hi.
Fatty's going to say hi.
Hi, Fatty.
He's been laying in the sun. He's going to come say hi.
He's doing the calculus in his head right now. If he can jump up on your lap.
I can hit the
is.
microphone. I'll make it
He's like,
work.
I think I can fit in there. I'm 20 pounds, but I can fit in there.
Yeah, you kind of can. There, we'll move it for you, Fatty.
But anyway, so if they forego receiver in the first round, the surprise first round pick that is a perfect fit for them is Kyrie Jackson, corner, Oregon.
Man, it's Spags. Yeah,
100% a fit.
Really early. I love Kyrie Jackson. It's still really early for me. Yes, he would absolutely fit. I think Chiefs fans might riot, but they probably shouldn't. They wouldn't after he played.
A lot of Chiefs fans would be like, is it the second round already?
Yeah, well, it kind of feels like it at that point.
Yeah.
I love the fit. It feels really early. There's so many guys that are being talked about as like, I think the language that goes around right now is like top 35, right?
Yeah.
It's those extra folks that are in play. I'll go. Well, I don't think he should be, but it feels like Johnny Newton might be in that category, right?
He's got to go. Johnny's got to go first round. Newton has to go first
round.
Round.
Think based on who he is as a player, his tape, his age, his production, his everything else, I would say so. But I've seen a whole lot of mock drafts over the last month that don't have him there.
He's very upset. That
I know. He's like,
put him down
what
there.
did you do?
He's like, what the fuck, EJ?
Hey,
I was comfortable.
Hey, nephew, it's okay. I agree with you. Newton to me is an easy first round talent, but if he's sitting there, he's sitting there and you have a pick and you're like, I don't know, should we take the third corner or should we take Johnny freaking Newton?
Yeah.
Like, if you have a need at defensive tackle, or even teams that are looking at like, hey, we didn't take one, we were going to take one on day 2. It's Johnny freaking Newton. If we give up like a third round pick to go up like 5 or 6 spots and go get Johnny Newton, control the 5th year option, like, let's do it.
There we go. Alex Tracy for $20. Thank you, Alex. As always, excited to join you guys on day 2 and 3. I asked TFG and curious to see what your answer is. At the end of the regular season, which do you think will be higher, rookie passing yards or rookie receiving yards? Higher for who?
Daniels? Or no? Passing or receiving yards?
Rookie passing or rookie receiving? Well, wouldn't
they
just
like in total?
Oh, like in total across the class?
I don't know.
Ooh,
that's a strange calculus.
I guess it depends on how many quarterbacks are starting.
And
right?
just for chat, Fatty's getting plenty of pets off camera.
You have no idea.
Yeah.
He's been a complete whore since EJ's gotten here.
He just misses me.
He loves you so much.
Yeah.
I'd say it depends on how many quarterbacks are starting. We know Caleb
Across
will.
all rookies, Alex Tracy says, wow, that's tough to just add up in your head. I would go receiving yards. It's just more receivers.
Yeah, there's just a lot of them.
Yeah.
Because how many guys are going to get 300-400 yards in this class? A lot.
Yeah, and how many quarterbacks are going to start? Right?
Yeah.
4?
Maybe.
And so 4 quarterbacks versus all the receivers in this class?
Yeah.
Receiving yards. Yeah.
Interesting question, though.
Yeah, fascinating. I hadn't even thought about it. I was like, that takes me.
I've never even tried to do the math on that.
Not a metric that I've considered. So you stumped us. That doesn't happen very often.
Donut for $5. Let's say Neighbors and Dallas Turner are both available at 8. Are you praying Falcons take Dallas? or he's getting a top edge better for a Bears Super Bowl rebuild?
Yeah, I'm not so sure it's edge.
Oh, as in,
Yeah,
are
who
the
do they
Bears
take?
praying?
So who's left?
Yeah, so Neighbors is left.
I
would honestly think Poles prefers Dallas.
It's
of the
hard
two.
for me because it's like Eberflus, and here's the one is who's in charge of their defense now. And I know he works for Eberflus, but Eberflus has a very similar defensive theory.
Mm-hmm.
Like, who would the Colts take 3 years ago?
Probably Dallas.
Really? You think?
I think so.
More than Verse? More than Latu? More than a defensive tackle that rushes the hell out of the passer? That's the one, right?
Well, I guess I just have a higher opinion of Dallas Turner as a run defender than a lot of people.
Yeah, it's true. Like,
Yeah.
I like him a lot, but Eric Washington, right? Would the Bills have picked Dallas? It doesn't feel like they would have. So depending on how much input they're giving him on the edge opposite Montez Sweat, it feels like Eberflus wants a 3-tech. We know that. He is dying for a penetrating 3-tech. He's been trying to get one for the last 3 years. And if you're looking at Washington, like, think about the edges the Bills took. They're big, heavy dudes.
Hulking.
Yeah.
AJ Epinesa, who they then made lose weight anyway. But
right? They're the Jared Verses of this class. Or if you're just looking at size profile, like Latu is bigger than Turner by like almost 20 pounds. He's a big dude.
I don't think Turner's 240. He was like 245, wasn't
Is he?
Hold
yeah,
on,
but
let me
Latu's
look.
like 262.
I can't remember. All these numbers are.
They're blurring together. But I've just had trouble with the Turner fit, not because I don't like Turner as a player.
Yeah, Turner's 247.
Oh, okay. So it's like 15 pounds.
And then Verse is
in the high 250s, and Latu's in 260s.
Before I even look it up, I want to say Verse is 256.
Yeah, 258, something like that.
He is 254. Yeah, okay. So 7 pounds.
Even.
250 even, yeah. So 7 pound difference. It's not, but
but he plays with power. Like,
I would
Verse's
say
game is like
Verse has better natural power.
Yeah.
Turner uses and weaponizes his length better
Long
as a run
arm.
defender, right? So
Turner will snap off a long arm that'll just turn your head straight around. It's
Crazy.
impressive. But and Latu's big but doesn't play to that size. He's the biggest of the three, which would surprise you based on his tape. He doesn't play that size.
T-Rex,
like,
man, that'll get you every time.
I'm telling you, but like the Bills' edges are like big, hulking, strong dudes who are very good athletes, by the way. Russo, Epinesa, they all tested well. So
my thing with Russo when he was coming out was it's weird. He's actually gotten better at this when he got in the league. Yeah. He was so stiff. Oh. He was so stiff. He turned like a battleship going through a glacier.
Yeah, but that was like so Bills.
I know, but it worked. It worked. Like, whatever. You got 35-inch arms. Who cares? Doesn't matter.
Big, long, and strong. Which Turner is a bunch of those things. But everybody that was just for the longest time penciling Turner in at 9, like, it's Turner just because he's the best edge and they need edge. It's true. They do need edge. And he is one of the best edges. But especially with the Washington edition, I was like, are you sure? And to me, it really feels more like they'd probably aim for a 3-tech, and that's Murphy.
Walrus the Cat. What a name. For $10. Thank you, Walrus. If the Chargers take Joe Alt at 5, who would be the best wide receiver fit for them at 37? I'm trying to think. Who's an outside number 1 that might be available at 37? Is there going to be one that's available at 37?
It's possible that Leggett gets out of the first round.
But I don't think he gets past 33.
I don't really either, but it's possible. It's late.
You would say no to this, but chat, can I interest you in Ladd McConkey at 37 to the Chargers as an outside receiver that can actually separate?
I'm not going to say no to it. I'm going to say I don't love it as a value.
Honestly, 37 is kind of a weird twilight zone in this receiver class where there's just not.
You kind of got to get down into the 40s before I'm like, okay, I'm comfortable taking a Troy Franklin. I realize you're not. Pearsall starts to come into play in the 40s. There's a group there, but like late 30s, which is top of the second round, it's kind of a like, phew, we did our wide receiver thing in the first round. We're going to take a break for like 8 picks, and then we're going to come back to it.
I would also say if they don't take one at 37 and they go a little bit later, I think Malik Washington is what Greg Roman thought Devin Duvernay was going to be.
Ooh, okay, interesting. Don't see him as the same players. I think they're different and
Malik's better.
Valuable and versatile.
Malik's better for sure.
But like my bigger question with all this Chargers and alt stuff specifically, as opposed to Latham, is what are you doing with him?
With alt?
Yeah.
Well, it would be if they worked out alt, which I assume they worked out alt.
Yeah.
I have to think they made him do right tackle footwork just to see if he could do it.
I understand
because you're not going to move Slater.
All these people are like, oh, they're just going to put him at left, and I'm like, really?
You're not moving Slater.
You're not moving Slater.
No way.
So people seem to just skip over that because they're like, best tackle happens to be best left tackle. I'm not saying he can't play right. He's a good run blocker. He's got great length. Like, it's totally possible, but I'm with you. You better be damn sure he can play right just as well as he can play left, because you're not moving Rashawn Slater for a rookie.
I have to think that their private workout with him, and I don't have any inside knowledge on this, but I have to assume their private workout with Alt was trying him at right just to see if he could do it.
And I honestly think they're just probably not as gung-ho as everybody thinks to go get him. Great player, but, unless you are dead solid perfect that he's not going to have any hiccups moving to the right, because you're picking him at 5.
Yeah.
He's got to be great. He can't be like passable or serviceable or good. He's got to be elite. You spent the 5th overall pick on him, and you're not moving your all-pro left tackle. Like, you're just not. So a lot of people just skip that. And it's the same thing with the Bears. People are like, oh, we'll give him this tackle. I'm like, he's a right tackle. They just drafted right, who actually worked out.
Yeah, like, and they're not going to move Darnell right to left.
Everybody's like, they'll just move Darnell right to left, and I'm like, don't do that.
They're not going to.
Please stop. Like,
they're not going.
If you really are thinking tackle for the Bears, like, it could be Alt, because then he and Braxton, losers the swing for a while. Like, that's a great situation, but not my favorite choice. But that fits for them. I don't think it fits for the Chargers.
Johan Hernandez for $5. Thank you, Johan. Ricky Pearsall to the Steelers. Let him and Pickens make circus catches all season.
Yeah.
He would be the classic day 2 Steelers receiver that just works.
So productive. No, I could see it. He's super tough. His quarterback tried to kill him this entire season.
I want to know if there was like animosity there. Some of the balls.
Yeah, I'm wondering if Pearsall stole Mertz's girl or something, because
it's like, dude, he was trying to put him in the hospital.
Hey, catch this! Snap! And it was not. When I say 15 times, I'm not exaggerating. About 10 days ago, for something I was doing, I watched every Pearsall target and touch from this season, and it was a horror show. Like, every third or fourth one, I was like, oh, God. Like, yeah, he caught it, but at what cost?
It's like, here, boy, want the ball? Threw it into oncoming traffic. Like,
how many
go
bones,
get it.
How many bones did you break for that reception? No, Pearsall would be great on the Steelers. He's one of my favorite receivers in this class. Really, really like Ricky Pearsall.
Yeah, his brain's probably mashed peas at this point, but
after that,
God, he can catch the football.
After that Charlotte hit,
Bobby Gain for $10. Australian. Thank you, Bobby. Good day from your Aussie fan who met you in Buffalo. Oh, that's right. I thought I recognized that face.
I thought I recognized that face.
Yeah. No, we were at the Bills-Packers game.
Yeah.
Not last season, but the one before that.
Yeah.
And Bobby happened to be in town. Came down to our section. I don't even know how he found us.
Yeah.
Came say hi. Hello once again, Bobby. What are your thoughts on the Dolphins taking a QB on day 2?
Ooh. It's interesting. I haven't thought about that match yet.
Jordan Travis would make a lot of sense there.
Yeah, he would, but boy, for me, Travis is like start of day 3, like value-wise.
Well, when we're talking day 2, I'm more thinking round 3 than round 2.
Right, but it would be like if you wanted him, because again, you didn't want to go into the overnight not having your backup, but they also have a backup they really like.
What about Pratt?
Pratt can
Pratt kind of he fits a lot of what they do.
Yeah, right? He can spin it, and you're going to get him later, so that's true day 3. That would line up for me. Travis would be sooner. I think he's a better and more complete quarterback than Pratt. Cannot spin it as well. I mean, Michael Pratt can really spin it.
Oh no,
he can throw the hell out.
NFL film's gonna love that spiral.
Yeah,
he's really tight.
But I think Jordan Travis can do more at the quarterback position right now. I'm not saying eventually, which means you'd have to go after him a little bit sooner. But I'm still like he would be like still available on day 3. Quality players like Jordan Travis will be right up there, hopefully on top of your list. And if you need a backup, Bears don't have a pick there, but it would be really nice. Like,
I don't have as high of a grade on him as a lot of other people do, but I understand the qualities of why people have a high grade on. But I'm thinking Rattler.
Rattler, I don't know that Rattler in Miami is my favorite. I think McDaniel.
You need somebody to come in and throw a Hail Mary.
Oh, sure, but I was going to say I think Miami specifically, to get back to Bobby's question, demands more precision than Rattler
for sure.
is, like, let's just say, known for. Which, again, Pratt can throw with anticipation, and I think the sort of jarring effect if Tua left and Pratt came in would be less than if Tua left and Rattler came in. Like, receivers would be making some adjustments at that point. So it's possible, but they really like the backup they've got there. So I just don't sort of see it organizationally.
The real answer, by the way, for which quarterback Miami takes on day 3 is Devin Leary, just so you know. That's like the real answer. Like 4th, 5th round,
100%.
Probably Devin Leary.
100%.
Liam Briggs, another Australian, $10 Australian. Thank you, Liam. Your favorite Australian chick. Oh, there's competition for favorite Australian now.
And Fitzy's not even here.
I'm going to back out of that one. I'll let you guys decide.
Rumble it out, guys. Rumble it out.
Loser has to box a kangaroo. Favorite Australian checking in. What's your unhinged, it won't happen, but projection for the first round?
Ooh. Let's see. It
won't happen, but...
And yes, I have a couple written down.
49ers take Edgerrin Cooper.
Ooh, fascinating.
It won't happen, but...
Unhinged.
Which, by the way, Edgerrin Cooper's favorite player is Fred Warner. He wants to play the Will linebacker right next to Fred Warner. He literally told us this. He wants to play Will next to Fred. That is his dream job. So,
all right, unhinged in the first. This is going to sound like chalk when I start. Atlanta takes Dallas Turner.
Yeah.
At 15.
Oh, as in Colts came up for Malik. I wouldn't even say that's unhinged. That seems...
A lot of people are like, whoa. A, Dallas Turner's not going to make it to 15. B, blah, blah, blah.
Well, the thing is, all the teams that are from 10 to 14 are not taking Dallas Turner.
Yep.
Saints are taking a tackle. Vegas, who the fuck knows? Broncos are taking probably a quarterback, assuming Bo Nix.
We'll see.
11, the Vikings. I don't even know if the Vikings are going to be the ones picking at 11.
Yeah, again, that top 1 through 15 up to about 15, there's going to be a lot of motion. We know there's going to be a ton of trades, but I think it's kind of like the chalk, not chalk, right? Chalk has been Turner to Atlanta, but at 15.
I would say another one. Maybe that's a little too.
How many tackles? Considering your mock draft last night, how many tackles in the first round? Or
8.
How many offensive linemen? Total.
10.
10.
Yeah. Maybe 11.
Okay, maybe 11 is the unhinged. Probably won't happen, but it might.
See, my other one that I was thinking about was Brooks going in the first round, so that you get the 5th-year option to help him recover from the ACL.
I got one.
What?
And it's not as weird as you might think, because he was there and there's a connection school-wise. Kingsley to the Chiefs at the end of the first
He's their type. 100% he's their type.
And he's from BYU, and so is Andy.
Yeah. And he's just massive and talented, and if Andy loves nothing else, it's massive talent.
So
projects.
Kingsley Sumatai tackle BYU going to the Chiefs at the end of the first round.
I could see that. Yeah. Especially because he doesn't have to play right now.
Exactly.
100%. Yeah. I actually like that a lot. In fact, that's probably more likely than Kyrie Jackson.
Yes.
I would say so.
I would say so. Yeah. Especially with the run you're predicting. Well, we're predicting your run's slightly bigger than mine, but we're both predicting more tackles than wide receivers.
Yeah. I weirdly had 3 centers going in the first round. I had Barton, Frazier, and Well, Barton's not strictly a center, but he could play center.
He's probably going to play center.
But I had Barton, Frazier, and JPJ all going in the first round. Which
Yeah,
I don't remember
people
last
like,
time we
"You
had
don't
3
spend
centers.
draft capital in the first round on centers." I'm like, folks, they have a 92% hit rate. If you want the good ones, yes, you do.
Well, I think it's a testament to the fact that centers don't go in the first round unless everybody almost unanimously agrees they're good.
I fully agree, but this is the Creed Humphrey effect. Speaking of the Chiefs, the Chiefs stealing Creed in the second round.
It's like what 56, I think, was
broke the league.
Yeah,
they were like, "Wait, I can have a starting All-Pro center?" Like, really?
Yeah.
It's typically been one of those positions like tight end that's had very slow starts.
Mm-hmm.
Even some guys that we really liked. Lloyd Cushenberry had a terrible first year. He's since equalized.
He's all right now.
Good player. John Michael Schmitz did not have a great first year. Again, think he'll be a good player, but it's typically been one of those. And Creed comes out of the gate and just like lays it down, and everybody's like, "Oh, wait, that can happen." And then, like we saw it last year, we saw again centers that we thought, they ended up playing guard, but we thought Juice Scruggs was a 4th round guy, and we liked Juice a lot. He goes in a second. Like 2 full rounds early and
played well when he was healthy.
And plays great. Yeah. Now everybody's like, okay, if I want that guy.
Linderbaum as well was another one, first round, which everybody kind of knew. But
yeah, if I want that guy, I got to go get him. They're not just going to hang out. I can't say, oh, well, there's 3 of them, so I can wait to the 3rd round. In this draft, you can. There's 6, but you're not getting one of the top 3 or probably even the top 4.
Lehman Cousin. Thank you, Lehman, for $10. I'm tired of hearing May/Daniels. What do you want to see with Washington's other 5 top 100 picks? Is Kingsley at 36 a guy who can take Leno's place next year, or is a trade-up necessary for that player? Well, if we're assuming that Kingsley is a pick for 2025 and not 2024,
sure.
Yes.
I love that.
Absolutely, yes.
I love that. That would be really – because Leno is – look, everybody – versus mentor, right? He's a giving player, but he wants to keep their job at the NFL. Nobody's going to be like,
but he's also played for like 12 years.
Right. Nobody's just going to hand you the mantle. But if you've got a talented young guy behind you and you can read the writing on the wall and you get to help shape that player and you get to keep your starting spot for 1 more year,
yeah,
I like that. It's less contentious than, that left tackle that you picked 4 or 5 years ago that hasn't worked out, that's still fighting for his life. He's not going to be as forgiving with a guy picked to take his spot.
They also have a pick at 40.
Now, the 5 of the top 100 is a significant thing for Washington. I appreciate this question because everything's been focused to get to do in the top 100 after that.
So let's just say quarterback at 2, fine, whichever one.
Yeah.
Kingsley at 36, love that pick.
Yep.
They have another pick at 40. They brought in Michael Davis at corner. You still got St. Juice. They brought in Forbes last year, which that was a whole thing. Won't get into that one.
Good for a lot of draft content.
Quan Martin at nickel, EJ and I both believe in long term.
Yeah.
You got Percy Butler and Derek Forrest at safety. Jeremy Chin they also brought in at safety too. At the linebacker core, you got Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, and Jamin Davis.
Dude, right there, Frankie Louvu and Bobby Wagner. Just be looking forward to that, Washington fans.
Not gonna be able to run on them.
That's a great that's going to be so much fun.
Yeah. Not sure about pass coverage, but you won't be able to run. And then defensive line, of course, Dante Fowler, mercenary again there with Dorrance Armstrong, Clellan Ferrell, KJ Henry as your edge rotation. So that's probably the first place I look at pick 40. Inside, you still got Allen and Payne.
Ooh.
So I would probably lean towards edge at pick 40, which means, again, you're hoping Chops there.
Adisa.
I can see Adisa Isaac. If Chop's already gone,
I think Chop's gone. I would go Adisa. I actually would go Booker. I know you're a little bit lower on him, but that's the beginning range of where I would be looking at Booker. And I actually think that's the range Booker's going to go off in, Austin Booker from Kansas. I think he goes off in the 40s. I don't think people are going to be able to lay off.
Marshawn Nealon's also one that I would, because he just kind of
he's in the range.
He's what they like too in terms of just
he's in the range. I wouldn't be sad about it at all.
Power.
So that's a really good look. So we've gotten quarterback, we've gotten potential tackle, offensive tackle. Now we're looking at edge, power edge for the most part. All 3 of those guys we mentioned are legit targets. What are the next ones?
Next pick, they have 67 and 78 and 100. So
Oh,
like they have a lot of assets.
It's coming. They're just
they could take swings at corner because they're going to have to.
Look and they're going to have good players there.
Yeah,
like the middle of this corner draft is insane. After the top 5 guys, and we've talked about this pretty extensively as we're doing our positional ranking sheets for the Patreon members. They are coming. We got 4 published. We'll have probably 4 more published tonight, and then the rest of them will come out before the draft tomorrow. But the middle of this cornerback class is just chock full of probably, you were talking about like 60, you said 60?
It was 67.
67. So getting down towards 70, like Kyrie Jackson's going to be there. Chris Abrams Drain's going to be there. Elijah Jones, who I really like. Ennis Rakestraw is probably going to be earlier. Cam Hart, Renardo Green, DJ James, Jarian Jones.
I think Renardo and Kyrie might be gone, maybe.
But then somebody else will fall, right?
Can I throw one at you for pick 100? Like wild card at pick 100 for corner.
Sure, go for it.
Quantez Stiggers.
Yeah, he was the next name on my list after Kalen Carson.
CFL Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, very versatile.
Extremely good ball skills.
Yep.
Great player in space. Bigger guy, like pushing 200 pounds, moves really well.
Yeah.
Like he could legitimately be, even though he never played college football, right? He was in the fan controlled football league and then somehow found his way to the CFL, did a CFL tryout, and like
he went to CFL Combine.
That's what it was.
So he got into fan controlled football league because his mom signed him up.
Yeah.
Yeah. His mom was like, "You're not done playing football. I saw that there was this tryout and I signed you up." And he was like, "Mom." And he goes and he gets into the league, makes a bunch of highlights, gets an invite to the CFL Combine, goes to the CFL Combine, blows it up because he's a great athlete, gets drafted as a backup corner in the CFL, doesn't play for the first few games. Guy in front of him gets hurt. Rookie of the Year, not having played college football.
Led the league in picks.
Yeah.
I remember so we talked to him at the Shrine Bowl extensively.
Yeah.
And he was telling us a story where he went to that's right, it was the CFL Combine. I thought it was an individual trial, but it was the Combine. He got 5 picks that day.
Yeah.
And then he went to his first practice, got 4 picks in the first practice.
They were like, okay.
They're like, who are you?
Rook can play.
And like, again, he was like off the couch, literally off the couch. They're like, who the fuck are you?
Have so many choices at outside corner, with size, inside corner. Like, there's so many guys in this draft. And, if they hadn't brought in, another safety or another couple of safeties, like I like Forrest. He's not going to keep me from drafting a lot of people in this draft, but I like him coming out. And then, you go get Chin, who really is a different kind of a player. He's more of a dime backer. But, like, if they hadn't buttressed that, I'd be like, oh, go get, whoever from the safety ranks, right? Again, I think that would be a really good slot for, like, Cole Bishop. Sione Vaki would be fun there.
I still got to finish Vaki. Well, what position did you put him at? I'm curious.
I think he'd be good at either. I really do. In the pros, which is nuts.
Yeah.
Like
a true Iron Man.
To look at a guy's tape and go, I'm not actually really sure if he's more impactful at safety or running back, because he's really impactful at both. And it's not because he's a watered down version of either and you just can't decide. Like, he made a ton of plays at safety and he played deep too. That was the thing, is I thought, he's a running back. So they were playing him in the box, right? He's a hitter. He's coming forward. He understands lanes and he's filling. And like 340 snaps at free safety.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, who are you? It's crazy. Crazy athlete.
Hendog 1000 once again. Thank you, Hendog. Hope your back's feeling okay. Okay, now for my annual Chiefs question. Who would you love for the Chiefs' first 3 picks? So, Chiefs they have obviously pick 32.
That's the thing.
They have pick 64 and pick 95.
Yeah, so obviously their first pick has been widely mocked as wide receiver. Like,
most likely will be receiver.
Right. So pick your favorite that you think will be available at 32, which is the kicker here.
I would lean towards Keon there. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Be really interesting. Because again, it's something they don't really have on the roster right now. So if you're talking about filling out a room,
somebody who can actually work down the field. Again, remember Rashee Rice. Yes, they used him as a big slot quite a bit, but he's such a different big slot than Keon Like Rashee Rice's average depth of target was like 4-point-something yards. Keon can actually go down the field. So different flavors, right? Pick 64. I'm looking at corner there. Okay. So again, mentioned Kyrie.
Yeah, all the guys we just mentioned with size and
Bernardo
ability
Green.
to play.
And then pick 95. It's kind of dealer's choice. I'm trying to think what else they really need.
I feel like
because you got Bolton and Tranquil at linebacker.
I feel like they could go running back at 95.
Just because?
Well, because I think the value is going to start to line up.
Oh, as in just best player.
Well, they need one, right? They have a starter. Like that's not.
You got Pacheco, and then if
CEH is back, I get it, but like he's a role player as much as we loved him coming out, right? And if you get insert running back you really like at 95, because the running backs are not going to go balling off the board here.
The thing that might throw a wrench into that is they seem really excited about Lewis Rees-Zammit, the rugby guy they brought in.
Yeah, I'm not sure though with his lack of football. He can fly.
He is so fast.
He is crazy fast.
Yeah.
I saw his name mentioned when he like threw his hat in the ring. This is like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
It's like in the middle of the season, the NFL season. And it's like, oh, rugby star wants to try American football. And I was like, okay. And so very easy to Google him, get some highlights. And I was like,
he can run.
He is built and he can flat out fly. He's fast as hell. But I don't think that's your RB2. Like, I don't think the Chiefs think that's your RB2.
Chat just threw out an interesting one. Tyrone Tracy. Especially for what he gives you in the return game too.
Freaking love that.
Yeah, like, that'd be fun.
They're creative with the way they use their running backs in Kansas City. So, and the value slot is about right.
Yeah.
Like, he's gonna be there.
Maybe if they're going for DT, that's where I'm looking for maybe like a Christian Boyd to start
at the 100
at 95. Like that's the range where Christian Boyd starts for me.
I'd love to see. And I know I'm somewhat on my own island with this one, but Dwayne Carter. It's going to be there right around 100.
Early for me, but I get the type.
Like not that early though, because I mean, how much later you go? Like 110, 115,
yeah.
120.
Again, late third is where you're like, whatever.
Like if you like
hit rate's like 10%, whatever.
If you like this 2022 tape, that's where you take him. So a lot of fun options for sure. My least favorite fun option for them would be everybody's off of Tavondre Sweat, and they're like, "Oh, you have character issues off the field? Come plug the middle of the line
Chiefs.
for us."
We don't care about that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, come to Kansas City and just wreck people. Now,
everybody maybe not literally, but they've already had an issue with that, EJ.
So that would be like, oh no, because he's going to work.
Yeah,
like Spags is going to be like,
oh yeah, he'll work against City.
Yeah. So,
JJP for $10. Thank you, JJP. Appreciate you. 2 things. 1, my liver wouldn't like Latham to Pittsburgh. Neither would my brain. Day 3 grade on him.
Wow. Latham?
On Latham. That's the first I've seen that. Number 2, day 2 wideout you think is going to be a why did he last that long guy?
Oh, that's a great question.
Xavier Legette for me. If he goes day 2.
Yeah,
would be my answer for that.
And I think he's the most sort of like most likely to a year from now be like, really?
Yeah.
You took him after, insert end of round 1 wide receiver here. So it's day 2 wide receiver.
Day 2 wide out that we think is going to be a why did he last that long? As in like when we take him, we're like, why is he still there?
For you, it would be.
For me, it's Legette.
Well, yeah, but where you would pick him, it would be Troy Franklin. But the league really likes Franklin. I think he's going to go earlier than you would pick him.
I think Franklin's one of the ones where I'm legitimately fascinated to see how high he goes.
If Franklin goes to KC at the end of round 1 and they use him in the slot, look the hell out. Like I
don't think he's their type because they've already done that type.
I know, but they could go back to it, and it would be a return to something that we know Mahomes throws well, and would try.
It doesn't matter how well Mahomes throws it if he's going to not catch it.
You're so hung up on the fact he doesn't have hands. Do you know what his drop rate was?
The position's called wide receiver, EJ.
Do you know what his drop rate was? You've been on this for the whole season.
It was like 11%, something like that, 9 to 11%, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
but it's not about the drop rate. It's about the contested catch rate. All right, you literally can't draft him to a Florida team because when a hurricane hit that state, he's going to wind up in Georgia. Like he is so freaking light. He just cannot.
6'2", 176. He's not
so light.
He is not a heavy duty guy. His drop rate 10.5% for the regular season. Other notable drop rates: Javon Baker 12.2.
Yeah, that one surprised me.
Yeah, and Lad McConkey 7.1.
It's a little average.
Right. 7.1, 7.8. We got a lot of those. And then contested catch rate for Troy Franklin, 37.5.
Low.
You know what it is for Keon Coleman?
I know he was also weirdly in the 30s.
33.3.
But that was what was weird to me. And I went back and I looked at every single contested target that Keon had. I love you, Jordan Travis. Some of those balls were not good. In fact, a lot of those balls were not good.
Which is why Jordan Travis is going to go at 135, not 65.
And again, I like Jordan a lot. He's like my QB7 or something like that. But when you watch the contested catches from Keon, like he was fighting for his fucking life out there on some of those. And I felt that number was a little bit unfair to him. And I did the same thing for Troy. I watched all of his contested targets too. And it wasn't the same to me. No, the number was similar, but they weren't the same.
I'm going to give you absolutely drop rate. 10% is not something you can't come back from. It's at the higher end of the upper end prospects in this class. But, Brian Thomas Jr. 7.7. McMillan 7.8. There's players that people are like, oh, and same thing with contested catch rate. And I agree. Context is really important there. And it is important to go back and look at like, why? Like, honestly, if Pearsall had a high drop rate, I would have been like, yeah. And then I would have understood, but he didn't.
Yeah.
He's just
catches everything.
But the other guy that's been mocked in that spot a lot of times to Kansas City is Xavier Worthy. His drop rate is lower. I'll give you that.
Yeah, but his contested catch rate.
Contested catch rate is 25. Like it's not his gig. So, there are things, but I think Franklin's going to go off the board a little bit earlier. I think the league is higher on him, certainly than you are, maybe even a little bit than I am. We've both heard that a lot of folks in the league really like Troy Franklin. So we'll see. Boy, I have to pick one. I'm going to say it's day 2, right?
Day 2.
Probably for me, I hope it's Pearsall. I hope that, Ricky lasts a little bit longer and goes out and blows it up because he's really good, well-rounded wide receiver. And everybody's like, man, why wasn't he picked ahead of? Because that always happens every year. So I'll say Pearsall.
Icelandic fart, please. $5. Thank you. IFP. What would be your good job for going to get your guy, but why is that your guy? Pick this draft.
What a great question. I love chat. That's amazing.
A la the Daniel Jones reaction from way back when.
Oh, boy.
Because if I recall correctly, that is what I said when they picked Daniel Jones that high. As for this year, it depends on if we're talking about like a big trade, right? If it's a big trade where Minnesota's giving 3 first-round picks, or 2 firsts and 2 seconds, whatever it is, and they're going up to like 3 or 4 to get JJ, it wouldn't be as like to me as the Daniel Jones one, but it would be mildly
because of our belief or lack thereof in Daniel Jones. But for me, if the Giants go up to get JJ McCarthy, I'm gonna have to stifle that response. I'm gonna be like,
so not even the Vikings, the Giants for you,
but
even if it's a little baby trade.
Well, it would be. It'd be like to 3.
Yeah.
right? And if they do that, I'm going to be like, oh, I hope you're sure. Again, I like JJ better than I like Daniel Jones as a prospect in terms of potential. But I'm still going to be like, oh, okay. I know you thought you had to, obviously, but just like Chad said, why is that your guy? Like, what you're going up to? Okay, good luck. It better work. And again, with Dable, I think it has a better chance. Again, Dable was not there when they picked Daniel Jones.
I think at this point, their job security is tied to getting a quarterback.
I get it, but I will have to. There will be a little bit of that reaction in me of like, okay, but you better be 100%. Like, good job that you went and got your guy, but really, okay, because it's going to be expensive still with the quarterback tax.
Maybe
no, they're not going to give it to him for cheap. Why would they?
I don't think it'll be another first-round pick.
It's not going to be cheap. It's pricey. Those top 10 picks, man, they go up in value a lot. There's a high step between each pick in the top 10. It gets expensive.
Jordan Shadle for $5. Thank you, Jordan. Titans fan that doesn't watch college ball. With D-Hop staying and adding Calvin Ridley, why wide receiver? And how do we move? And how do we move after if Alt is taken?
Oh, what do you do if Alt is taken? Like, what's the next? Yeah. What's the fallback plan?
The fallback plan is so if Alt is taken at
7,
4, 5, or 6.
Oh, yeah.
So if he's gone by then, that means one of the receivers is there.
Yep.
Which means you ransom them to Chicago, you move down, and you take Olu. Or Fautanu, whoever your tackle
if
to
it's
is.
Like neighbors, right? I don't think Poles will bite. If it's Rome or MHJ.
If it's Rome, he'll bite.
Yeah, if it's Rome or MHJ, I think he actually probably will, even with the lack of picks. And again, I wouldn't love it. It would be half the reaction from the earlier question, like, good job going and getting your guy. But if it's Rome, I'm going to be like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Because this is the thing about trade-ups. If you trade up and it works, if the Giants trade up and JJ is the savior in the Big Apple, nobody will care.
Yeah.
Nobody cares what the picks is. If Ryan Poles sells a bunch of picks this year that he doesn't have, or next year's picks, and he goes and gets Rome, and Rome's a guy for a Pro Bowler for
don't care.
8 years, nobody cares. Like, it's fine. We got what we wanted, right? It's when they bomb that everybody goes, you gave up blank for a guy that didn't play 3 years in the league, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's when people care. I don't even know if they sell it at that point. Like, do you just sunk cost Treylon at this point and go, like, we're getting a young receiver because there's a great one here? Or do you just go, like you said, we've got to protect Levis. There's a bunch of good tackles. We'll get a receiver later because we have, as Chat said, veteran options.
I think they brought in Calvin specifically so that they could take a tackle.
Yeah, it gave them flexibility. I agree with that 100%. It's the same thing Chicago did. If they didn't have Keenan right now, everybody would be like, you are
screwed.
Yeah,
you need one.
You've got to get a wide receiver up high. You can't, DJ's great, but that's not enough. With Keenan, again, they have flexibility. They could take another one, but they could also take Byron Murphy, and nobody's going to, well, I'm not going to say nobody. Fewer people are going to light the torches. So I don't know. I think you probably just go with, I would probably go with Fashanu.
Yeah. Or I'm still trying to decide who my OT2 is. It's probably going to be Fautanu, but I don't really think you can go wrong with any of those guys.
I mean, you're getting a pass protector for Levis's blind side.
Yeah.
Like, go for it. One of the best pass protectors in this draft. Need some work in run blocking, but I think they just go, we've got one of our bookends. We're going to sort of match him with Skoronski where we're going to put him. If it was me, I'd put Skoronski at right tackle and say those are my bookends because I think he can play there. So,
all right, we got 15 minutes left. So I apologize that we're not going to get to every question because you guys have a lot of really good ones, but we're going to try to speed run through as many as we can in the last 15 minutes.
All right. Chess clock.
Nathan Bell, $5. Thank you, Nathan. Which position group / specific players do you see the Cowboys targeting at 24? I think they almost have to take O-line with Smith and Biotish gone. I mostly agree with that sentiment, but also receiver is a thing. We talked about in the mock draft last night where I took Brian Thomas Jr. to the Cowboys.
I actually like that match a lot too.
It's a very good
it's one of those
matchup
ones I saw
for them,
and I'm just
right?
like, ooh.
But also remember, Jalen Tolbert is literally the only Cowboys receiver on the roster right now that is slated to still be on the roster by 2025. Obviously, they're going to re-sign CD at some point, but they need a young receiver.
Gotta have young talent.
Like really, really badly.
Yep.
Just as much as offensive line. And so it really depends on who's the best player available at either of those positions.
Correct.
So you're putting PTJ up against Frazier, JPJ, any of the tackles. And it just depends on who they have a higher grade on. But I wouldn't be surprised to see them go receiver, at which point every single Cowboys fan is going to lose their mind.
Yes.
But it really just depends on which tackles are still on the board and what the grades they have on those guys are.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, chess clock.
All right, next question from Kosciuszko for $10. Thank you, Kosciuszko. Don't worry about pronouncing my name. Well, I tried anyway, and I hope I nailed it.
As long as it's not
that's
Matt
the first
McConkey.
part of the question. Hey, so you've been pretty high on Mo Kamara compared to other draft analysts, but what teams do you think he's the best fit for?
Oh, that's a really good question.
Mm.
He would be awesome in Philly because
it'd be great in Philly.
They love the type. They know how to use it. As opposed to some other teams that Philly has collected edges from that didn't know how to use them and weaponize them. So, I would not be thrilled if he went to like Arizona.
I think Carolina.
He'd get to play on a very talented defensive line, that's for sure.
I think he really fits in Carolina. I think he fits in Tampa.
I had a feeling you'd say Tampa with the Shaq connection and just the style they play.
Well, Shaq's gone now, but
they used him
stylistically,
very well.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I also think, again, we talked about Houston needing guys to add into the rotation. Houston would use him very well.
I think Minnesota would, as a third down pass rush NASCAR kind of specialist, which is really where he should probably start in the league, like full on pressure package, like him and zero. Okay, sure, that's
for
fun.
sure.
Yeah.
All right, Iwan Llewellyn, I believe I pronounced that correctly. Hopefully, I didn't, or hopefully I did.
Hopefully, I screwed your name up
for £5. Thank you very much. It might be Ewan. Ewan?
Could be
Ewan. An underrated storyline is the Eagles having 2 second-round picks. How do you see those being used with the rumors of a trade-up today? It depends on if they get a corner in the first round.
Yeah, I was going to say, if they don't get a corner in the first round, one of those is
definitely going to be a corner.
slated for a corner.
Right.
And they'll still get good value. As, again, we've talked about, there's a strong crop of corners in that second-round range. So,
there's been talk about them going up for a receiver. I don't know if I believe in them going up for a receiver because that's a lot of investment for a position that they've already paid top dollar to 2 guys.
Yeah, the other thing is so many rosters, like the Patriots, we talk about needing so many players. Like the Eagles don't need so many players.
Yeah.
They need like 3 good ones.
Oh, I just thought of one.
Yeah.
You know what they're a prime candidate for with that second? Because, again, they need a slot.
Yeah.
Malik Washington in midnight green with AJ and Devonta outside.
For sure.
That's
I think
nasty.
I think it's early for him, but it would be a great fit.
So nasty.
Yeah. It really does depend on what they get in the first. If they get the corner they want in the first, then I think a lot of options open up. But again, the trade-up thing is real to me because they don't need – how many picks do they have? 6?
Something like that.
Yeah, they don't need 6 players, right? They need like 3 or 4 and maybe a depth player. So mortgaging 1 pick to move up, they don't care. They've got a good roster. They've got guys to pay.
I'm really interested to see what they do. Because even though everything fell apart last year, it fell apart because of like 4 players that just weren't like, I'm sorry. In the NFL, you can't survive if both of your outside corners are bad. And also your inside linebackers can't cover. But like they weren't that far away. It just looked a lot worse than it was because of who was bad last
and the
year.
roster is not far away either because for years, Howie has stacked picks on picks. Like everybody's like, oh, well, Jason's gone. Well, yeah, but they drafted his replacement 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Like
3 years ago, even.
Yeah, they're ready. They have 2 guys that can play his spot. They just have to decide which one they want to move.
Yeah.
Like that's the kind of roster we're talking about. So you don't need 6 picks. You can mortgage pick. There's a player you want to go get. combine a couple of picks, you can totally afford it.
If you put 2 better coordinators and 2 better corners on that Eagles team last year, they don't collapse in the way they did.
Not in the middle of the season.
Not in the middle of the season. They have an opportunity to fix the corner problem in the draft. We think they fixed the coordinator issue already.
Yeah.
Like, they'll be fine. Probably. Maybe.
Take heart, Philly fans. You'll be fine. Probably. Oh, boy.
Z Grizzy for $2. Targets for the Commanders at 36 and 40. Went over that a little bit earlier, but in case you missed it, Kingsley Suamatai makes a lot of sense at 36, like our previous questioner brought up. And then at 40, I think we had Edge, right? Yeah. So that would be like Chop Robinson.
Or Nealon, or maybe Book. Book's early there. I think Nealon would go before Book.
Tom Koch for $10. Thank you, Tom. My understanding is that Poles has the top 3 wide receivers, Bowers, Alt, and Turner, as players that they will not pass on at 9. If none of those are there, they're trading back. Have you guys heard that?
It's not that many players that he won't pass on at 9, because that's half the top 15.
I was going to say that's most of the ones in the top 10.
Yeah, I don't think it's that many players. I think it is. So the Bears did divide into 3 particular groups and debate best tackle, best edge, and best wide receiver. Those are the 3 focus areas that they kind of made their, fake mock draft teams like debate and come up and sort of set that board for them. I don't think all those players are not pass at 9.
But it's ones that they're considering.
I think they're on the board, but I think they would absolutely pass on a couple of those players for a trade down. Because if all those players don't pass, you're not leaving 9, period, no matter what. Like, a bunch of those guys are going to be like 4 of those guys are going to be there. Also conspicuously
did not have Byron Murphy in that group, which I think.
Yeah, I think Byron Murphy is an absolute possibility at 9. Like,
Jack Bapp for $5. Thank you, Jack. Hey, guys, loving the stream. Can't wait for tomorrow night. Do you think the first 4 picks will be quarterback, or is McCarthy dropping a possibility? I mean, McCarthy dropping is a possibility, but ultimately, I do think the first 4 picks will be quarterback. I really, really do.
Okay.
But it depends on how far Monty's willing to go back to still secure a number 1 receiver, which is why I think Giants is the 4th. Now, let me throw this at you, because a lot of people have been bringing up J.J. McCarthy to the Patriots at 3. If May is on the board at 4, Arizona's going to get some gnarly offers for Drake May.
You think?
I think.
From
Minnesota. Like, absolutely godfather offers, which would be the only reason that they don't go back to 2, or go back 2 spots to 6. Because Minnesota is going to be bidding not just against the Giants, they're bidding against the possibility of them getting Rome or Marvin, which means the price is going to go real fucking high.
So that being said, they back off.
Who backs off?
Minnesota.
Because of the price.
Yeah. And they go to the Chargers and go, what would you take? So because
as in you force the hand. I don't know if they can risk that though, because Denver, again, Vegas,
I get that. I get that. But Denver and Vegas have to come up with ways. Like, you're talking spendy.
Well, it's the same price. Maybe even slightly more, but
slightly more for sure. You're talking.
So you're thinking Minnesota says, go ahead, give it to somebody else. We think you're not going to.
Right. Bluff. You're taking MHJ.
God, that would be
it's the world's
big
biggest poker
game move, dude.
Right? And then they go to the hometown Chargers.
Big balls move.
That's right.
if they let them do it.
Feels like Quessy to me. Like, fine. And then he goes to the Chargers and says, hey, what do you want? The Chargers go, we'll be a little bit more reasonable, because again, the distance is 1 less pick, and we don't want the quarterback. We'll sell it to you. We're still gonna charge you. We're not gonna, like, it's not a hometown discount, but we can't charge you as much as they were going to, because Monty's like, no. If you mean that we don't get Marvin, it is full boat plus.
Yeah.
Right. There's the tip is gonna be 25% here.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care about the service. And then they try it at 5 and they get it at 5. Chargers move back. They get to take their tackle, Latham or whoever, later at 11. They get extra picks. Minnesota gets May at 5, which would mean not quarterbacks for the first 4. which is my take. I don't think
is your
quarterbacks
brain
are-
melted yet? Because I am so ready to just watch the draft and not have to think about this anymore.
I do not think quarterbacks are going 1, 2, 3, 4. They might. But my other sort of hot knot prediction is 4 quarterbacks in the first round.
Only 4.
Only 4.
No Knicks, no Penix.
No Knicks, no Penix. People always say this, right? Especially this time of year. The last 3 weeks. Oh, the quarterbacks are going. 5 are going. 6 are going. They're all going.
Here's the thing. How many years where people say that were the Broncos staring down the barrel of Zach Wilson starting games? That's what I think moves the needle here.
Everybody says it every year. And then 4 go, and they're like, oh, wait. We're talking about the 5th best quarterback at 11 or 13 or like. I think it'll cool. I'm not sure that anybody will come up, and I think again they'll go off the board very beginning of day 2. Like totally believe that happens all the time. Drew Brees was the first pick in the second round.
Yeah,
like
Carolina would get some crazy offers for 33.
I fully agree,
Yeah.
but I think there's going to be a frenzy. There's going to be 4 quarterbacks. They're going to go high, probably within the top 10. Maybe within the top 5. I don't think 4 in a row, and I think at that point people are going to go, whoa, Little Rich. Like we're gonna pick some of these other good players.
Interesting question here from Ryan Singlin for $10. Thank you, Ryan. What's the most unhinged but plausible, a la Texans trading up to 3 to get Will Anderson, trade you think we could see tomorrow? MHJ to Colts, which is something we've talked about on this stream.
Sure.
If we're talking unhinged but plausible, I'm still thinking MHJ, but a little bit even further down.
Yeah.
And I'm talking big time trade.
Buffalo.
Oof. Big time. I'm talking Julio Jones trade.
Like, that is a couple of wheelbarrows full of pesos, man. Like that's everything
big
you got.
Time trade.
Yeah.
And it's for either Marvin or Rome.
Yeah.
But like if Rome gets to 8, and we all know Rome's going at 9, I could see Buffalo making a call and saying, "Hey, man, what do you want?"
I think polls will be like, make the same call and like
match.
I can come up for a lot less. I'm 1 pick away.
Yeah.
Like you have to wait 1 pick, and I'll
still want Dallas Turner in a third.
Yeah, I'll give you something. It'll just be easier for them. There'll be a lot of conversation if he gets that far, but my unhinged one would be polls going up for wide receiver, which I've heard. I don't believe it's the best call. I'm not particularly sure he'd do it, but if you did Caleb and then traded up for MHJ or Rome, wherever, with the Chargers or something, like at 5. And again, that's pretty much all you're going to come out of this draft with because you only have 4 picks to start with. That would be my kind of like big balls. We just put our stamp on it and said, this is what we're doing. And you come out of the draft with like Caleb and Rome, like whatever for the rest of it.
Here's an interesting one from Griff Gambino for $5. Pulling up from half court, Baltimore drafts Tyler Nubin to give them options with Marcus Williams in 2025 with the cap. To that I say, what round? I hope you don't mean first round.
He's late 30s player for me, so be early.
Oh, he's that high for you?
He's like 39, 40.
I would have said like a 3rd-ish round
for Nubin.
Yeah, like late 2 to 3.
Okay, I think he's better than that, but okay.
So this safety class is really intriguing. There's a bunch of guys I like a lot. There's not like the one that you fall in love with.
No,
like,
Nubin's right up at the top for me, but that doesn't mean top round. That means top of the safety class, which is middle of the 2nd round.
Yeah, I
think he'd be the first one off the board. I don't think I don't think Bullard goes before him. I just don't. And Bullard's like my 2. So
I like Bullard a lot.
I love Nubin and Bullard.
We could get a wild Taylor Demerson pick middle of day 2.
I don't think I think they like him. I think we like him. I think they like him too. They being the league. I don't think they like him better than a guy that played at Georgia. I don't think so.
No, I think Bullard could very easily be the first safety picked.
Yeah. It's Bullard and Nubin for me, and they're actually really similar in range, like late 30s to early 40s for Nubin, and Bullard pretty much right behind him, early 50s, mid 50s, 50, 52, 58. Like,
because I have like a grouping of like Newman, Hicks, and Bullock, but they all play wildly different roles.
Yeah,
and so it just kind of depends on the type of safety you're looking for.
I love Hicks, I really do.
But all of them are like, but back a day to that kind of general range, and you could talk me into a half a round plus or minus of round 3, right? For any of those guys.
I got Newman, Hicks, Bullard, and they're all in the top tier. That's my top tier.
I don't know anybody that has like the safety class in the same way as everybody else. Like safety and
again, those
linebacker
those three play very different roles.
Everybody's all over.
You can't play Newman and Hicks in the same role in the same defense and expect the same results.
Very different players.
Yeah. Both great, but
both great. Might go very similar picks.
Depends on your need and who you have in your room and who you're balancing out.
Andrew Moore, we'll wrap it up with this great question from Andrew Moore for $20. Thank you, Andrew. I think a lot of teams will go with multiple offensive linemen in the draft. What guys do you like to see playing together, and where would you see them succeeding? Well, we interviewed 2 of them together, Mason McCormick and Garrett Greenfield. I'd love to see them continue to play together in the NFL because they've already played together for 6 years. So they know each other inside and out. Mason's going to go higher than Greenfield because he could potentially be a second-round pick himself as either a guard or center. Greenfield, I think round 3 is where it starts for him. He might go in round 4, but he's such a damn good athlete that I could see him going round 3. As for what teams out there that they could even play together on, I don't know how many teams need a left tackle and a left guard simultaneously. And if so, boy, they got problems. But I would love to see them continue to play together in the NFL.
Yeah, we'd actually given them that wish. We got 2 more questions that we're going to slam in here because one's for 20 and one's for 50. So we're not leaving them on the board.
Oh, I missed those.
Yeah. So,
from Diego
Asmodeus for $20. Few things. Rome at 9 is such a dream. What could the Bears get for a trade back? Carolina at 33 and 39. That's the first question. If they're trading all the way back into the second, it would be a high price because you're talking about a top 10 pick. So that's a lot. And then second question. Third question. Not a fan of Bowers as a wide receiver substitute. I actually kind of like him as a wide receiver substitute in the right system.
Specifically a big slot. He's not playing outside.
Yeah. But again, if you are creative with that part of your offense, I do love it. Any thoughts on Jordan Love's new $4.7 billion house plans?
So first of all,
ouch.
That
hurts.
Rude.
Yeah, that hurts. Not a whole lot of thoughts because it's not even close to done.
The mock-ups look really cool, though.
The mock-ups at Arlington Heights looked pretty cool. It's not about that. The plan, we're talking about Chicago Stadium here, the publicly owned stadium, which would be very similar to, strangely enough, the Vikings arrangement, where the Wilfs paid a decent amount and the public still, but they split maintenance. It's not publicly owned is a banner headline. It's not super true. It would look a lot like Minnesota
publicly
Stadium.
owned-ish.
And somebody that's getting drafted high might have something to say about that in a couple of years. So we'll see by the time it gets built.
Again, if we're just going off the aesthetics of the mock-up, it looked pretty sick. Now, does it look a little too much like Allegiant? Yeah, it's fair criticism.
It's done by the same architect.
It looks exactly like Allegiant.
Like Allegiant, SoFi,
window facing the skyline, the whole thing.
But like Allegiant, SoFi, and the Bears mock-up for both, the one that was in Arlington Heights and the one downtown, done by the same firm, and it's the same firm that did SoFi and Allegiant. So it's gonna share some.
But we've been in Allegiant, and Allegiant's pretty sick. So at least we know they know what they're doing.
And SoFi is great.
So yeah, I like it a lot. Also, as for what the Bears could get for a trade back, Carolina giving up 33 and 39, it would take a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah,
if they're coming back up.
Yeah, that's a lot. Jordan Slater for 50. Thank you, Jordan. Very generous.
We'll get to Diego right after this, by the way.
If Detroit trades out of the first, what day 2 players would they target? That's actually really interesting. It really feels like corner to me. Again, that big group of like
any of them
ass kicking man corners, like
Kyrie, Renardo. They play with the attitude that they like.
Kamar
Lassiter, Kool-Aid.
Oh, Kool-Aid would be a dream.
Literally any of them.
Yeah,
any of them.
So that to me would be sort of the first like go-to, and then I could also see them.
They still need a receiver.
They can't just split Amon-Ra St. Brown after they paid him. Like just have him and clone him. Receiver could be an option for where they're at, and I could also see them going for another edge to offset the pass rush.
Again, I mean, it's another year, another Lions year where they're taking a pass rusher,
but like
still need one.
Yeah, they're still got, like I think we can agree Hutchinson worked out, and like they're still looking for the foil on the other side.
If the foot is a concern for Johnny Newton and he slips,
oh God,
he's very much a Dan Campbell type of player.
Yeah, 100%.
Just glass eater. Right?
I'm not even going to entertain that possibility. I'm just like, no.
But it is possible. And that's what's terrifying.
No, it's a no for me. It's a no for me, dog. Like Newton,
but honestly, they could just take him at 29.
Just quiet with that. I don't want to think it.
But he fits. Johnny Newton fits 100%. Great question. Thank you, Jordan. We're going to wrap it up with Diego, who's our last $20. I want to make sure we get him in. My Dream Steelers mock, round 1, J.C. Latham. You and me thinking the same. Round 2, Zach Frazier. Round 3, Javon Baker. Round 3, Renardo Green. Round 4, Cedric Gray. Is it Cedric or Cedric?
I've heard Cedric, but it's a good question. I've heard Cedric.
I've heard
Gray.
both.
I've heard Cedric. So
we'll go with Cedric Gray.
We'll figure out the pronunciation.
Well, Katzen sent us the guide for that, so I'll double check on that.
Nice.
Round 6, Jaden Crometti. Round 6, Bo Braid. Thoughts?
Oh, I actually really
I kind of like literally every pick here, which means it's not going to happen.
Jaden Crometti from round 6. Again, we're talking about a round 6 pick. Bo Braid, I really like because they have Minkah. Like, that's a good foil. That's a good balance. We were just talking about safety balance. Javon Baker, Renardo Green would be an ass kicker in their defense.
Renardo would be incredible in their defense.
Full marks.
And Latham and Frazier is chef's kiss.
Full marks, Diego. Well played.
Baker would be that classic day 2 Steelers receiver that just works.
Yeah.
Gray, I mean, as far as like linebackers that can cover, which we know they could use another one of those.
Yeah. No,
I love all that.
It's really good. Like if you're a Steelers fan and some version of that or 4/6 of that happens,
I'd jump for joy if I was a Steelers fan.
There's a lot of good fits there for sure.
Make sure we're all up to date. I think we are. All right. I want to thank. First of all, I want to apologize to everybody that we didn't get to your questions because I know we set aside 2 hours for this. We're slightly over, but if I missed your question, please hit me up in DMs. I will be able to answer there tonight after I finish kind of doing some player write-ups if I happen to miss your super chat. But I want to appreciate and thank everybody who came along. It's a Draftsmas tradition that we do every single year, and we love doing it. Make sure to come by tomorrow. I think it's
tomorrow it's an hour early.
An hour before round 1.
And then half hour before day 2, half hour before day 3.
All right. So an hour before round 1 starts, come by. That's when we're starting our live stream tomorrow night. We'll react to every single pick as we go for all 3 days of the draft. Again, we do roughly 17, 18 hours
full boat
every single year. This year, obviously, we have a kitchen. We are fully stocked on supplies and beverages, especially.
Yes.
So I'm feeling pretty good about our odds of surviving this year. Famous last words. But we'll see you guys tomorrow night. Enjoy your Draftsmas Eve. Stay hydrated. Get well rested. Going to be a big one tomorrow. And until then,
we'll see you.
We'll see you.